See if there's a snack. Alright, I am ready to go. Are you guys ready to go? My cat is in the way of my... not my mouse, my controller. Thank you, cat. Alright, let's get it started. Welcome, everyone! We're going back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Episode 3, Part 3. It's actually Part 5. Alright, Hairbrain. I'm sure that there's more to this. Oh, hello, Sholmes. Are you done being a wax sculpture? Thank you. It's not really a battle, but you know, I appreciate you nonetheless. I completely forgot to tweet out that I'm live. Right now. We'll do that right now. Alright. No, Hairbrain. I think it helps. We've completely confuzzled the enemy, so... You know what? I think it helps. What did you do again, Sherlock? Oh yeah, you know what? Congrats! You actually made it on time. Holy shit! I completely forgot. Shook me, poked both cheeks, punched me, and kicked me from the bed. Then she poured a boiling cup of her latest sparrow in my face, and at last I was bestirred. Oh my god. Of blending tea. British people. Oh, hey, Gregson. What do you want? wrong, Gregson? I've been confronted with a grimmer expression. I mean, we stopped one bomb. You know what? We stopped the bomb. Better than not stopping two bombs, you know? Well, can you give it to us? Professor's autopsy report? Oh shit. Mass murderer, more like serial killer. I feel like a mass murderer just kills everyone like at one place at one time. Let me examine this. Redacted for confidentiality. Pseudonym the Professor. Death by hanging confirmed at midnight. 17th of June. Hanging. Oh, I completely didn't, is there anything? This lock does look very strong. I wonder who it would have been. I don't know, man. If you get that kind of itch, it stays there, bro, and it's just like infuriating. I get it. Okay, there's a lot of stuff that I didn't get to look at yet. Holy shit, I haven't realized that when I was like so sleepy yesterday. Fostering burgeoning talent for the future of scientific. Talented scientists. That's in. Why? Oh, hold on. The glass is almost as thick as it is. Surely. Last plate inside. You have to change the plate with each new photograph you want to take. There's no plate. It's been removed. Oh, yeah. The actual term that was used at the time, just like the wax work isn't never have found out the That's true. But this lens. Oh! Wow. Oh, that's blood. By rumblings of his stomach now. He's given up on having a watch. Oh my god, poor Mikotopa. Yeah, look at this. It's a blood. Some blood. Do you think it's blood too? No. Imagine if, like, two spells did it on purpose. Okay, I think we've investigated almost everything. Let's look at... Oh yeah, we've already looked at this. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. Alright. So not just doing what we can. The shadow of the great detective shows, of course. Oh my god. I feel like Gregson's, like, feels his end is near as well. And to lay all this to rest at last. Yeah. Good luck, Hairbrain. Good luck to me. You know what? You should thank Toby. Toby did all the work. Dude, imagine you're the bailiff. Are we ready? I mean, I'm ready. This is gonna be probably the longer part of the trial. So it might take the whole 2 hours. I mean, 4 hours, 3 hours, 3.5 hours. I can't math. Ah, look, the princess is here. Shuriken. Ah, a lot of these are like for murders. But like, well, how come the one for... How come the one for the professor killer... The professor killings, is private trial? Wonder if it's important. Dude, imagine like he drank so much. He drank like, imagine like he drank so much he got drunk during the trial. Imagine getting drunk in the trial, like as a prosecutor. Yeah, it's called A Witness. Is it the same people? No, yeah, it's the same people. Bruh. I feel bad for the kid, like... the way she's eating, though. Alright, we're ready. We're ready to go. Oh, what's the report? High voltages. Deliberately destroyed an explosion infected by an unknown. Damn. Wait. This is actually great news for us. I think it's good for us. It's a photograph, so we probably don't need to examine it, but we'll examine it nonetheless. Yeah. We're gonna use... This hole is gonna be important. Never thought I'd say that. Was obliterated from existence, yeah. Very different trial. What? As it stands now, with no evidence. Ah! Sulfira, thank you so much for the raid! Oh my god! Thank you! Hello! Hold on, let me put up some... skip this part so we can get some audio background music going. Hello, welcome, Sulfira. Thank you so much for the raid. Welcome Rosario Shimizu and Ivy Onimura. How is everyone doing today?
Objection!
Alright, let me give Sophia a shout out. What, how was Cult of the
That's
Lamb?
better than Ferranium.
Oh, well, let me see what's going on.
I love it.
What's this clip? You start a new part in Cult of the Lamb? Ooh,
There we
which
go.
boss are you on? I mean, which dungeon are you on? No, not the clip. Anchor Deep, so the underwater part. Oh, I actually kind of enjoy Anchor Deep. Anchor Deep's such a great. Hello, Ghoul. How are you? How is everyone doing? The underwater part is actually pretty fun to play. I hope that you had a fun time doing that dungeon. I kind of enjoyed killing the little squids. It's really fun. Anyway, welcome. My name is brief introduction here. My name is Synesthetic VT. You may call me Sin. I'm a variety VTuber that is also a polymorph / dream entity. I can switch ears at will. If you could just look at my model right here. Wee wee wee. Anyway, the jellyfish are cute. Ace Attorney is going well. We're on the third part of the. I mean, this is stream number 3 of this case, where little background, we are representing this man here, Albert Harebrain, who is accused of murdering Odious Man by teleportation, and we've currently figured out that Enoch Drebber has directly sabotaged the machine. So we're trying to prove that Enoch Drebber was the killer instead of Harebrain himself. Just for a little general summary of this game, this is the Great Ace Attorney series, Chronicles, I mean, where we play as the great ancestor of Phoenix Wright, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. And he goes along adventures with Sherlock Sholmes. Not Sherlock Holmes, it's Sherlock Sholmes. Figuring out mysteries and solving cases and getting people acquitted from trial. Without any further ado, Sherlock Sholmes is amazing. Yes, Sherlock Sholmes is such a great guy. Look at him. Look at this dapper man. We don't have a John Watson, but we do have a John H. Wilson who has passed away unfortunately. So we have his daughter instead, Iris Wilson, who is actually a doctor of medicine and a genius 10-year-old. On the other side, we have Barak Van Zeeks, who is Juan Jetson. Juan Jetson. Oh my god. Who is the Miles Edgeworth equivalent of this time period. And he has an apprentice, the Masked Man, whom seems familiar to us, but I will not reveal who it is. I have my suspicions. Everyone has their suspicions. I will explain more if we do reveal who. So, without further ado, let us continue the trial. So we believe that Albert Harebrain. Oh, speaking of Albert Harebrain, he's actually Van Zeeks' friend. So Van Zeeks is kind of like laying it easy onto him, which is nice because he's never nice. So we're technically both trying to get Albert Harebrain off to an innocent, not guilty verdict, and shift the blame onto Enoch Drebber. The case just started. Well, this is the second part of the case. The first part of the case, we figured out that Enoch Drebber was involved, so we chased him down, caught him, and we're bringing him onto the stage. He's Clockwork Man. I actually kind of like his movement pattern. which I don't know how to explain it. It's very clockwork and fluid. See? It's really cool. Oh, everyone's seen him before? Yeah. He's also involved in the professor killing, a bigger case that, professor killing, which is a bigger case than, this one. It has no bearing on this trial. I think it has... It's very important, I think. I don't know, maybe not. Yeah, so he's the one who constructed the teleportation machine. Like, I feel like he's giving hints every like single sentence. Look at him.
Objection!
That you blew up.
Objection!
Have we not? All that was shown during yesterday's proceedings is that the same outcome could have been produced by means of strange trickery. Defense merely proposed a method and demonstrated its feasibility, nothing more. I mean... But we all know that teleportation can't exist. Even at this time. Anyway, he's gonna give his testimony, we're gonna break it down. But the machine he constructed for the purpose of the Great Exhibition. Alright. Witness testimony time. Alright. I met the young professor approximately 1 year ago through Mr. Asman's introduction. Also, these names are quite funny. I think Enoch Drebber is actually a character from one of Sherlock Holmes's stories. Same with the Bohemian Boy. This guy's name is Balthazar Loon. If you shorten it down, it's Balloon. I'll let that sink in. This lady's name is Esmeralda Two Spells. And she looks like a magician. I wonder why. This guy's name is Hairbrain, and he's a crazy scientist. This guy's name is Odie Asman. So, if you could say it a different way, Odious Man, which is bad. He's a bad man. Okay, so we're gonna press on everything. There was no trick. If the whole show was a fraud, it would have required a body double. Tell me, did the victim have a twin? All the spectators saw the birdcage appear above their heads and then crash headfirst into the crystal tower. Careful accident, I grant you. Perhaps the science of the machine is flawed somehow. You mean the one that you made? A body double? The impression that something has moved when in reality it hasn't. Basic conjuring principle. I would have expected him to be the body double, to be honest. But looking at him, I don't think he is. It's my understanding that this witness is well versed in conjuring artfulness. Such talents do not indicate that he was actually accomplished what he claims, namely the construction of what, by all accounts, must have been an extremely complex site. Yesterday's proceedings brought the true nature of your past exploits to light. Yeah. He's a swindler. Government grab money and through conjuring know-how. Actually, my scientific knowledge more than matches that of any academic in the field. Which would attest to that claim, my lord. As evidence, the police found this Royal Society trophy for young talent in science. I mean, for young talents. He's like old, no? Though I may have sold the secrets of some deceptive wiles to sniveling talent and slay into some past. Therefore assert that the explosion of the machine was an unfortunate accident, or, of course, a deliberate act of murder carried by a misuse of secrets. We don't believe that for a second. Alright, it's time for our... My bad, let me move this mouse away from you, everyone. It's time for the cross-examination. Alright. The young professor wanting to interrupt Mr. Asmon's introduction. I don't think we need to push this, but we'll do it anyway. With Mr. Asmon himself. Not really. By chance, I'd seen his name mentioned in the papers, that's all. But I had no interest in his private affairs. If he was an unscrupulous investor, it was no concern. As long as people pay their bills, I take up my tools and construct what they ask for. That's fair. Why did Mr. Asmon approach you in part? Say, I presume because my name is associated with excellence in engineering. I don't know about that. Excellence in fraud. Hard to gauge, but the point is, all I did was construct the machine according to the blueprints given. Oh, maybe we'll get the blueprints. Yes, you might say that. Professor Hairbrain certainly has one like no other. You mean like a hairbrain? With blueprints and a constructed machine to precisely. There's no trick. Okay, this one I do want to press on. I hope that we do get the blueprints. The knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to handle whatever comes along. That I furnished the machine with some trickery, I think, is a possibility. Yeah. The machine has been blown to Kingdom Come. There's really nothing left to explore. It's there. It's fitted with a timed explosive device. Nothing left in that device either. I mean, you're the one who built it, so... Abundantly clear that the experiment couldn't have been true. How so? As a fraud, it would have required a body only to win. I don't think I need to press on this one. We'll do it anyways.
Objection!
No, we don't. Why did he say that? Yeah, he has no twin siblings. Bruh. Yeah, it didn't have to look like exactly him. But, oh wait, this might have been important, that the victim himself that did move. Fingerprints found at the scene attest to the fact. It can't have been orchestrated using someone who... Just the idea of someone who looked identical to the victim. What if the person who died isn't actually Odie Asmon?
Hold it!
Crash head first, you say? Oh, head first. Okay. Well, we're gonna present on that. Rarely leave my workshop. Another of your unique inventions found at the scene. Failing of a machine I'd labored over the many months, I saw it clearly with my own eyes. The person did so. The victim's neck was broken from a long fall, wasn't it? Yeah. Colonel was supposed to read some newspaper here. Words, 2 injuries were apparent on the victim's body, the stab and broken vertebrae. Been doing his research, it seems. Don't be so sarcastic to us. Oh my god. Oh. Determined. Oh. We actually don't. That the victim died having sustained both injuries at some point during the experiment. So found in the bird cage with his neck. Like he fell from custody. Okay, I think I'm gonna present on this.
Objection!
Yeah. We examined the birdcage that crashed into the crystal tower ourselves. As you see, the cage, which is a wooden construction, has sustained damage in one particular spot. That level of damage is expected, surely, but it's on the bottom, bitch. Makes sense? Is the location of that damage. Yeah. All the breakages in the wood are at the base of the birdcage, not the top. Exactly. That's right, my lord. The birdcage that was at the scene is damaged at its base, so we have reports of the birdcage falling headlong into the crystal tower, yet the damage is at the bottom. The only way to reconcile these two facts is to accept that there were two birdcages in play that day, which were at some point switched. Switched during what wasn't a scientific experiment at all, but an elaborate piece of stage trickery. I wish I had a robot voice modulator or something. Gah! Yeah, explain yourself. No. If we examine the facts, there's only one logical conclusion we can draw. The damage on the base of the birdcage clearly indicates that it crashed first in the tower.
Objection!
But multiple witnesses report claim it fell headfirst, materializing in the sky next to a balloon flying over the stage, following a spontaneous explosion, altitude of 60 feet above the ground, which is approximately 18 meters. Then proceeded to fall some 30 feet into the crystal tower and ensuing dead flagration. Witnesses report amid such chaos are notoriously.
Objection!
The victim's neck was broken.
Objection!
Plummeted 30 feet inside a heavy wooden cage. However, he felt it would be unsurprising to find one or two of his vertebrae crushed. That's true. I like his robotic movements. It's pretty funny to see. It's pretty interesting to see. More rigorous, we would have to say it was only one vertebra, actually. What's motivating Lord of Antiques? Witness clearly swindling when he in front of his. Yeah, exactly. To establish this deception, do it right. I feel like that's the undertone here. Oh! Appears to have forgotten. It obviously wasn't the trigger, it's a certain truth. No. You will amend your testimony with detail of this truth. Ah. Yeah, we were so close there. Okay. Kinesis clearly took place, but there's nowhere else 30 feet high for... There's no...
Hold it!
Didn't we talk about the balloon? It's alive on stage in front of the audience. Yeah, there are a lot of transmittals. That's true. The victim's neck broke as a result of an impact following the fall. Logically, therefore, the victim must have fallen from somewhere. The balloon that exploded was at an altitude of 60 feet. The point of impact on the tower was 30 feet up. A difference of 30 feet is therefore the total distance of birdcage fell. There is no other location from which birdcage could have fallen that distance. It didn't drop out of the sky. Ergo, the victim himself must have been beamed from the stage into the sky above the crystal tower. I kind of doubt it. It's all very well thought out. There's been some birdcage falling 30 feet through the air. Okay. Perhaps the science was built. Not in the slightest. An engineer. My job is to manufacture according to the blueprints I'm given. And full problems if I force them to digest ideas. It would be stealing those ideas. Ah, that's fair. Without really understanding the principles it relies on. I mean, not really. You could be an engineer and just build the stuff that, all without really understanding the principles it relies on, aren't you? point is the experiment resulting in... Yeah, I mean... Okay. So we have to present on something else. That matters. Maybe. Let's see. What do I think? I think it's just a blow to Hui. It's going to be impossible to argue. Unable to establish that it was a piece of stage trickery rather than genuine science. I have no grounds on which to demonstrate. Professor used took advantage of his naivety, his unbending belief in around and let him get away. Seeing as the professor is an old friend of Lord Van Zeek's, what on earth must he be feeling towards Trevor? He's good at hiding it, that's for sure. Okay. Blueprints constructed a machine to precise. There's no trick. What evidence do we have? We'll save. We'll save. Because I feel like either this one or this one. I mean, or the fifth one is the one we present our, this photograph on.
Objection!
No, it's not this one. Okay. Okay, maybe it's the... Wait, maybe this one. Yeah, what a...
Objection!
No, not this one. Ah! No, bro. Bruh. Be back to game. Of course, I answered for that for about 4 months. Jesus. I could have sworn it would be this.
Objection!
It's not? Oh my god. Okay, let me see it again then. Crystal Tower was hit at 30 feet. Crashed down 60 feet. What should I present on then? Clearly took nowhere else 30 feet high for the birdcage to have fallen from. I feel like I'm supposed to press on this, but I have no idea what. Anyone have any ideas? Just thinking to myself, the balloon point of impact on the tower was 30 feet up. That difference is 30 feet. The birdcage fell. There's no other could have fallen if it didn't drop out. 30 feet through the air. Else 30 feet high for the birdcage. I have no idea. I thought it would be this one, but it's not. What am I supposed to do? If the show was a fraud, it would have required a body doubled. Tell me, did the victim have a twin? Maybe this one? The show was a fraud. I wonder. Would require a body double. I don't think any of... I presented already with this, right? It was constructed the machine to its precise... It would have required a body double. I did it on 2, 4, and 5. What about number 3? Gosh, because that hole in the thing irritates me. What do I do, chat? What do I do? What if... Okay, what if... What happened was... There was no twin, but this dropped, and people saw an empty birdcage drop down, and he got in it, but he got stabbed? I don't know. I mean, I think I'm supposed to present on this. If I have to prove that it fell from 30 feet into the air, then maybe this?
Objection!
Hey, it was right. Birdcage appeared in the air mid before falling down to the crystal tower. Fall about 30 feet or 9 meters. However, if you examine the diagram carefully, see that there is one other possible location from which the birdcage could have fallen. Same distance of 30 feet. It's the stage, right? I'm right, right? It has to. I think I was in the right area. But the wrong sketch. The wrong image. Must also consider is the height of the stage itself. Yeah, it's like around 30 feet. Was built at a considerable height above ground level. If you look at the diagram, yeah. See, it's about the same height above the ground as the balloon above the crash. When the experiment got underway, the machine and the birdcage were engulfed in steam. It killed him. Birdcage into one seen by the audience would have fallen almost exactly, yeah. And in the chaos, he could have taken the body double. No, there was no body double. He was killed. But 2.
Objection!
Yes, we do. Yeah, if you look at it, there's hinges. Yeah. Which means that it was you who built the two bird cages that was used to carry out this deception. The Professor Hairbrain's hypothesis is sound or not makes no difference. Because it's construction of this machine that matters. Yeah, exactly. Maybe it broke his neck, and he called out for help. Enoch Drebber is like, I'll kill you, and kills him.
Objection!
Look at his face. The way he holds that, he slices that, like, he swishes his sword and puts it back into the sheath, makes it look like he's using a katana. He's crushing it. Okay. I wonder how that doesn't stain his gloves. Before and after experiment, this went nowhere near the kinesis machine. Yeah, well, so it has attested to that. The members of Scotland Yard have also been on watch duty at every public experiment. In other words, Mr. Drebber had no opportunity to switch the alleged pair of bird cages. What if it was underground? With a crossbow? That doesn't bolster your case at all. A man who disappeared from the stage and a man who crashed into the tower are one and the same. Forensic investigation team's report is unequivocal on that point. Second flaw in your assertion. Distance lap. Why would a man want to take the victim's life? He had no reason to do so. Do I have to think of everything myself? I have here a contract provided by the witness. Oh, wow. Provided by the witness? How do we know it's real or not? Drebber is to receive 30% of all remunerations. I thought it was remunerations. Remunerations from the government's grants or other income. 30%, that's a lot. One very important provision bolted onto that clause. Mr. Drebber may only uphold this right on condition that both contracting parties are alive. In other words, if either of us were to die, contract will become null and void. Nothing to gain from that. Mr. Asmund does the opposite. Huh. Can I say more? This witness had neither an opportunity or reason to commit the alleged crime, or the possibility of Mr. Drebber having done as you suggest. Is no. What if? I mean, there's got to be a. I don't know. Contract as evidence. Please do. Let me look at it. How do we don't have a third party to confirm any of these? So you told the one in Crystal Tower he couldn't have done it. In any case, what it still holds true. What is it? There were 2 bird cages. Was she unable to deny that? On the right lines. Yeah. Other aspects of your assertion. Undeniable truth. What do you have? What are you laughing about? What are you shrugging about? That smile is... Okay, we're objecting. Okay, I wasn't expecting an objection immediately. We believe that there was only 1 bird cage. And now we know there must have been 2. In other words, there was more to the demonstration than we realized at first. I think it's abundantly clear that The same applies to the culprit. Wait, hold on. Let me check something real quick. We can't tell, actually. Never mind. Get to the point. Stage demonstration. It's constructed and set up entirely by you. It's inconceivable that you had no hand in the events that transpired. So, circumstances mean it's impossible that you could have carried out the crime yourself. It points to the fact that someone else was involved. An accomplice. I feel like with the people that we know so far, there can only be one person. If these accusations turn out to be false, then make no mistake, will demand an equally serious punishment for your slander. Imagine if this could be an actual thing for real life situations. If you accuse someone and it turns out to be slander, you have an equally serious punishment pushed upon you. That'd be great. Counsel, do you intend to pursue this course and formally accuse another party of involvement in this matter? We have no choice. We have to. There's a hunch on my part. Yeah, I mean, we have to. Imagine. Okay, I think I know who it is. Did you ever have an accomplice? Yes. And the accomplice. We have to. I feel. Here's what I think, right? We already received a warning. We have to. Identify this alleged accomplice by name. So, your answer, please. Who do you claim to have been Mr. Drebber's accomplice? Courtney Scythe. I think they're siblings. Take
that!
A lot of waves, yeah. Thank you, Susato. I needed that. Person who concluded with Mr. Drebber in order to carry out this wicked crime is Scotland Yard's coroner, Dr. Courtney Scythe. Yeah. We know there were 2 bird cages. Could have carried out the switch to complete the illusion. The accident happened in front of a huge crowd of spectators and the area sealed off. Everyone, police officers included, were banished to make way for the forensic investigation team. When else could the switch have occurred? It could only have been in that team's presence. He's frowning now. The court didn't. The defense demands that Dr. Scythe be summoned to witness stand at once. Eesh, that is a very, very tall order. Dragging the yard's name through the mud. You know the woman very well. There's no better dead room worker out there. Here you call her a criminal. Yeah, honestly, I personally wouldn't have, but like, since we're forced to do so, it's the only one that could have made sense. I mean, we already know. What if it wasn't a dead or alive person? Yes, we do. Present evidence. Here's here's what I think what happened. The wax sculpture and this case is actually one and the same case. We're not filibustering. And, you know, it could have been hard to see the body of the man in motion. So here's what I'm gonna present out.
Take that!
The waxwork head. And therefore he couldn't have been inside the second. Instead, that contains something else. And described body double, which crashed into the crystal tower. Makes more sense now. That body double inside the second birdcage was in fact. Come on, you can do it, Naruhodo. The body double inside the second birdcage was unbelievable as it may seem. That thing there. Wait, when did that come out? When did that thing come out? When did we summon it?
Objection!
What are you playing at? Dude, when did I bring that? As the court will observe, this is a waxwork model. A model, in fact, of an infamous London murderer from 10 years ago. The Professor!
Objection!
Started by indicating the leader of forensic investigation team as an accomplice in this crime. And now you've moved on to indictment waxwork. Yes, that's about the size of it. Why? And why this waxwork? It's nothing like the victim. In fact, it could hardly resemble him less. What possible justification can you give? If you want to know why, ask Mr. Drebber. What? Just days before Professor Harebrained performed his public demonstration, Mr. Drebber abducted this model from Madame Two-Spells. And 2 days after the incident at the Great Exhibition, he returned it to the museum. The timing coincides. At first, I couldn't see why Mr. Drebber would have stolen the waxwork and then given it back again. But now, the reason is clear. He took it so that he could put it inside the second birdcage as a body double for Mr. Asman. I mean, the fact that he's like jolted about that makes it more revealing. Come on now. Come on now. And that to effect the deception, he used a waxwork model and well. Van Zieks is trying to help in his own way.
Objection!
We have proof that it was there at the scene of the crime. Have reached an agreement. Oh no. Oh no, it's time for my second favorite part of the game. The summation examination.
Guilty! Guilty!
Ah! How dare!
Guilty! Guilty!
Guilty!
Oh my gosh, she's gonna use the corn on the cup. She's gonna use the corn to slam the fire. No. No. Nar. Yeah, we knew that was going to happen. We're gonna go through with the summation examination. Yes, I agree. I'm going to have to appeal to the jurors as usual and see if I can persuade them to change their minds. Oh, dude, I'm hungry. I only had pasta. I only had carbonara for lunch. I'm hungry again. Ah. Hey, y'all, has anyone played Helldivers 2? And is it fun? Like, I think it looks fun. Should never been accomplished. Oh, wow, that was first. Other nonsense think that those two would ever be conniving with one another. Here, this is most troubling. Surely the waxwork the man stole has nothing to do with the coroner, is it? I've had my own problems with members of the police. I do not trust them much. There seems no rigorous proof that this waxwork was ever inside the birdcage is conjecture. Someone with well-right evidences? He's not a proper job, is he? I won't have it. Wow. That kid is like the best one there. Introduction of this waxwork model to the proceedings of polarized opinion. Build is no way resumed. I can only applaud my learned friend's temerity. It's as when bodies double. That's why I have a strong feeling it's actually a greater clue than anyone else yet realized. I feel as though there's a specific reason why it was used, why it had to be this way. Far more significant than whether or not the model looked like the victim. I mean, we do... Imagine if Trevor did it because he saw the guy come back alive and he just wanted to kill him again. Like, that is just his grudge against the professor. Okay.
Hold it!
The order of things seems to have changed around here for some reason. Copper, lad. It's a copper's discretion to bend the rules sometimes when these must. No! Yes! Yes! Worked in the yard for 40 odd years. Had a metropolitan police service in town 7 years. You know, of course, times have changed. Public didn't trust coppers back when I started. It was rough. Fight crime, and we had to fight to win the public trust. We win, we did. More than she spearhead the revolution. Besides, 2 years ago now, it was. That's suspiciously close to the time of the professor killing. Now look at her, head of the forensic investigation team. Bless. Hear me complain. That's what we do. Full of it. You were full of it. Other nonsense dude could ever be conniving with each other. Why not? I'm just starting to understand this case. What are you reading? Those murders on Solar Pond Street was caught in 2 days flat. Oh, that's really pleasing for you. You're wrong there, is it? It was Dr. Scythe in charge of examining the bodies. There was evidence arising from her work that led to the arrest of the scoundrel responsible. That's right. Oh, that woman is at the forefront of this country fight against her. The idea that she's somehow involved in this murky business is loadable tosh. I thought it was up to me to press the triggers. The other way around. Oh wait, whoops.
Hold it!
Would you assume? Simply because that unsettling swindler had no witch. One doesn't. We don't know. I mean, they both are involved with... Bruh! Everything in terms of relationships. One might wonder about a possible relationship between the defendant and this coroner woman. I mean, the professor. Defendant and then hand of some prosecutor over there. Bruh. Perhaps demonstrating some connection between the waxwork and Dr. Scythe would be enough. As soon as we have even a whiff of connection. I mean, we do. Killer autopsy report. So maybe we pit those two together.
Hold it!
I think I understand what I need to do. Let's say we have run into each other on numerous occasions while I've been performing on the street. Say artists such as myself cannot appear on stage and work to performing great magic in parks, on street corners, and the like. We use any excuse to make our lives difficult.
Excuse me.
Excuse you? Why are you waving your gun around? Excuse you. Autumn. What are you calling him out? What? Ah! We accidentally call. Whoops, we have. I completely forgot about that. So, oh man. Back in my day, back in the good old days, it wasn't like this. What was it like, sir? Worked our fingers to the bone to earn the public's trust we did. By Jove, we earned it. People respected us back then. Respected you? Huh. No one would have called a coroner into question in them days. A coroner's report was the hallmark of an investigation done right. Especially when Dr. Courtney Stevens put her name to it. She was the best of the best, and the apple of the force's eye. Hold on a minute. Who's Courtney Stevens? Ah, sorry. Got a bit carried away there. Stevens is Dr. Scythe's maiden name. So that was before she was married. Of course, yes. Silly me. It's Scythe now, isn't it? Stevens. Yes, we have. Anyway, the point is, those were the great days of policing, not like now. Do you think you could change your statement to include that name? Yes, I don't see why not. Because that's going to be important. Wait, I'm gonna save. I'm overriding the save. Alright, we're pitting.
Objection!
Because they are clearly contradict each other! Good gracious, to whose statements do you refer, counsel? So, juror number 2. Oh gosh, me? What can I do for you? I presume you heard what juror number 6 said in his statement. It has brought to light the maiden name of the coroner, Dr. Scythe, which in turn has revealed a connection that wasn't apparent before. Well, naturally, as a woman of society, I find such connections and relationships to persist. But oh golly, I'm afraid I fail to see what you mean. Dr. Scythe's maiden name is Stevens, and through that name, the coroner is very definitely linked to the waxwork of the killer. The defense has evidence to prove it. My goodness, evidence, you say? How utterly enthralling. Counsel, the court cannot overlook that last remark. I very much hope there is substance to your claim. Of course, my lord. I would ask the court to look at this. The evidence that clearly links Dr. Scythe to the mass murderer known as the Professor.
Take that!
I have here a certain autopsy report from 10 years ago. A 10-year-old autopsy report? What relevance does that have? It is, of course, from the autopsy of the person portrayed in the waxwork, the killer known as the Professor. The Professors! But the man was a capital offender, so... That's right, this is a certification of death that was drawn up after the convict's execution. The identity of the killer was never made public, so the report gives few details. But what's important is to name the coroner who wrote it. Courtney Stevens. Oh my, Courtney Stevens. Strike a light! It appears that the professor's autopsy was conducted by Dr. Scythe 10 years ago, and a few days ago Dr. Drebber very deliberately stole the waxwork of the professor from Madame Tussauds. A waxwork that doesn't in fact resemble the victim, Mr. Asman, at all. And do you suppose there is some unsavory relationship between those events? Absolutely, I'm sure of it. There's no doubt in my mind that the Professor case is at the heart of a link that we have yet to uncover. Between Dr. Courtney Scythe and Mr. Enoch Drever. Hidden links, mysterious connections, secret relationships. This is all most extraordinary. We're surely obliged now to explore this further.
Quite right. We can't let this trial come to an end now. Not while there's this cloud of suspicion hanging over the yard's best coroner. It wasn't like this in my day, but we're here to uphold justice in the end.
Nice, nice. We got 2 in our favor. Alright. Okay, we've had this. Okay, now it's his turn.
Hold it!
But you claimed the whole instantaneous kinesis demonstration was a trick. That I did, but there's more than one way to pull a rabbit out of a hat, isn't there? I grant you, given that this cage appeared from a mist and explosion, there have been no need to use a real person, but if a waxwork has been used, the culprit could at least have had the decency to make it look like the victim. I'm sure exactly how criminals are governed by decency. Point is, if you're going to make a claim about that waxwork being inside the birdcage, you need to give us some evidence. I do. Without that, it's not science. You do have evidence. The glass. That doesn't mean might could be changed if we manage to present suitable evidence. Inside that birdcage. And produce that or not, yes we can! Actually, I have something I'd like you to see, sir.
I must warn you that I firmly believe it's only wise to trust men in white coats. So given your jet black outfit, I don't mind admitting to a sense of trepidation here.
So you don't trust anyone in black? Looking in the mirror must be very trying. I do have some evidence that proves that waxwork was inside the birdcage. Namely, this glass piece.
Take that!
What's that? A piece of glass. Though it's unusually thick for glass.
Yes, it's a piece of broken glass that we found inside the jacket on the waxwork. As you say, it's not ordinary glass though. It's very thick and very clearly made for extra strength. Much like the special glass that was developed for the construction of the Crystal Tower.
Crystal Tower. Holy smoke!
Exactly! The centerpiece of the Great Exhibition, where the very incident we're talking about took place. On the day in question, the birdcage fell from above and smashed through a window of that special glass.
From whence this small piece of originated? Is that it?
Precisely! So, what do you say? Now that clear evidence in support of the assertion has been placed before you.
Well, as I said, I only trust men in white coats as a rule. However, when the reasoning is sound, it's fair to say color shouldn't come into it.
Thank you.
In light of what you've shown me here, yes, I feel obliged to change my position on the matter. In that case, juror number 4, you will amend your statement now, please.
President Deck leaves me in little doubt that waxwork was indeed inside that birdcage.
Hold it!
I've got to ask, why have you brought that corn into court with you?
Colonel Cobb, he's been growing back on the farm. Picked him up, on the way to town. He's a proper diddler, he is.
I don't know how many times you've eaten that corn. Unit colonels. Some big to the side, the colonels always point me in the right directions. You're talking about a cup of corn? Nibble nobble to guilty bobble. Nibble not guilty out. Nibble nobble guilty bobble. Nibble not guilty out. Nibble no okay. I think I've got the thing, the gist of it. Perhaps it's akin to fortune telling with flower petals like people do back home. Buy a cob of corn, yeah. A cob of corn. My meat time's awfully full already. That's your own fault, I think. Also, I think I know what to pick. I just need to skip this dialogue because I don't like it. Ah. Yeah, in that case, you should see what additional information you can glean whilst trying to change jurors' minds. I mean, we've already got everything. Sure, you can do this. Bruh, don't call me out. I eat while I read. Okay, I was just wanted to see what that said.
Objection.
Those two statements clearly contradict each other. Good gracious! To whose statements do you refer, counsel? If you could put down your corn for a moment, juror number 5. Oh, you mean me? You've pointed out that it's wrong to make an accusation without evidence. But the accusation that the waxwork model was inside the second birdcage on the day in question is not without supporting evidence, as the defense demonstrated to the juror sitting beside you. Oh, is that right? Were you not paying attention? Would it be fair to say you didn't follow the argument? I don't understand much besides Colonel Cobb, to be honest. Can we recuse her? Like, dismiss her from the jury panel? If I could interject here. Please do, sir. Now that this assertion of yours about the waxwork has been backed up by some solid evidence, it would be wrong of me as a man of science to not to pursue the matter further. Thank you. Well, me too then. Sorry, if this brainy gentleman says he's right, then he must be. See, I wouldn't dream of going against Colonel Cobb or anyone who's got stuff in between the ears. What a backhanded compliment. Success! If you can call it that. Alright, carry on. Thank you, counsel, that will do. As a result of the summation examination, the jury's overall leaning has changed. 2 jurors now call guilty, against 4 who call not guilty. Accordingly, the court has failed to reach a consensus at this time. And the trial must continue. I feel like if you hit 3 to 3, it's enough, right? Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. Another wonderful victory. Excellent. We continue. A waxwork of the despicable professor, used as a body double for the victim in this quite an extraordinary case. I must say, it's extremely hard to believe the assertion could possibly be true. However, it would appear that it does at least warrant a further investigation. It's the waxwork of the professor that links Mr. Drebber and Dr. Side. And I'm convinced that there is a special significance to that link.
I don't know what you're hoping to prove, lad. I really don't.
The truth, sir, by using evidence and testimony. The court is to delve deeper into the alleged involvement of the waxwork in this case. Then the prosecution calls for the owner of the model to be summoned as a witness. The owner? Damn 2 spells. I really thought that Lord Van Zieks would object to this whole line of the inquiry. Very well, I concur. Make arrangements for Madame 2 Spells to appear as a witness with immediate effect. Listen carefully, my learned friend. Oh, yes? You should know that you're on the brink of opening Pandora's box. The court shall now adjourn for 45 minutes. During that time, the prosecution will summon the new witness and prepare her for taking the stand. Madame 2 Spells, yes. I shall see to it at once, my lord. Alright. This is a really quick part 3. It's only been like an hour. I hope the last one is just a little bit longer. Bum, 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 bum. Sorry, I'm looking at the autosave. What it had. All right. I feel like the Courtney Scythe one was a really far-fetched. Ah, the Knight Errant himself. Oh, I've been watching for the gallery, Mr. Sholmes. I've been on the edge of my seat the entire time. Courtroom trials are fascinating affairs, as a spectator at least. Glad you've been enjoying yourself. I have to ask. What on earth is going on? It makes no sense! What is this professor business all about? He doesn't look like any professor I've met before. Who even is he? Ah, of course, you were in Germany already 10 years ago. Yes, the professor. When I discovered he was the one who had been abducted, a sense of foreboding stirred within me. But who knew the monster would come knocking at your door? My heartfelt sympathies. As it turns out, Lord Van Zieks is even more intimately tied to this case than any of us realized, isn't he? Yes, how true. His great friend from university in the dock. And now a waxwork of the killer who took his esteemed brother's life makes an appearance too. I imagine even the shrewd Mr. Reaper failed to foresee that kick in the teeth. An extraordinary move on your part, my dear fellow, to throw that in front of the man. You make it sound deliberate. I mean, it is deliberate in the fact that, like, we have to. It's really very puzzling. But yes, in what particular manner? Well, there's Mr. Drebber, Mr. Dr. Scythe, and Lord Van Zieks. It seems that everyone in this trial has a link to the case somehow. Yes. In fact, I alone am not a member of the set. Oh, that leaves me as an empty set, all alone with no intersection to any other. Bro, some math. My empty set, my dude. Excuse me. Oh, shit. Dr. Scythe! Hi! Dr. Courtney Scythe. Nasty. Good day to you. Hello, Sholmes. That was very shrewd of you. What in particular, pray? You requested that 10-year-old autopsy report from Gregson, didn't you? Why would you assume such a thing? Because Gregson told me. To think it's been 10 years. 10 years in the laboratory, wielding my scalpel. Smell of nothing but corpses and disinfectant. Policemen on the jury had a lot to say about you as it happens, Dr. Sutton. And I've accused you of being complicit in what happened. I'm hoping that you'll take the stand and tell the truth about what really happened. That certainly won't be possible. Lord Van Zieks won't be summoning me as a witness. Lord Strongheart has forbidden it. Lord Strongheart? The Pandora's box you were warned about is the Professor case. But please don't make the mistake of thinking you'll get any information about it out of me. Sheesh. Attempting to hide from the truth. That's cowardice. I've always fought crime in the way that I see fit. I have no regrets, none at all. And that's all I came here to say. So, good day to you. Sheesh, there's a hidden history about this more than I thought. She mentioned it too, this Pandora's box. Whatever does it all mean? There's really no cause for concern, I assure you. When the trial resumes, the meaning will become all too apparent, whether you like it or not. Now then, I believe it's almost time. I must make my way back to the public gallery. The edge of my seat awaits. I think maybe you're enjoying yourself a little too much. Ah yes, one word of warning before I go. If in the course of the trial this afternoon you perceive even a shadow of doubt about the truth, don't let it out of your sight. Pursue it like a dog with a bone. Okay. To the bitter end, you understand? Do not falter, whatever may come to pass. Thank you, Sholmes. You're a good friend, even though you're kooky sometimes. Good, I shall make myself scarce then. I purchased a bar of caramel earlier, so I shall be gnawing on that as you gnaw away at the truth. Hey, can we use that as evidence? What did that warning from Mr. Sholmes really mean, I wonder? Especially the bit about whatever may come to pass. Jeez. Are we gonna discover? We're gonna discover like the professor killings within like this. I feel like the professor killing has more to do like is more important than we realize. I mean, I'm sure it's the utmost importance in this game, but I feel like it's gonna span this case and the next two cases. All right, 24th October, 12:40 p.m. at the Old Bailey courtroom. Dude, that kind of startled me a little bit.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby reconvene the proceedings of this court. Counsels for the defense and the prosecution, are you ready and able to continue?
Prosecution, ready. Yes, my lord. The defense is also ready.
As the court is aware, the case under our scrutiny began with a damaging incident at the Great Exhibition. Here we now find ourselves embroiled in the details of a convicted felon who was sent to the gallows a decade ago. This trial has certainly defied all expectation.
As it seems to be the fate of all trials in which this anomaly is involved, my lord.
So then, let us begin our exploration of the defense's assertion that the waxwork was commonly involved in this matter. Go Vanziques. Are we still awaiting the arrival of Madame Two Spells?
Not at all. She's in the antechamber as we speak, ready to be served.
Very well, bring in the witness.
At once, my lord. Bailiff, show Madame Two Spells to the stand.
Things are about to become a lot more intense. If Trevor is responsible, as I'm sure he is, it means he must have an accomplice in Dr. Scythe.
What connects the pair of them is the waxwork.
Yes, the model of the professor. That's the key to the link between these otherwise unrelated individuals. It's a tenuous link, admittedly, but at present, it's all we have to go on.
Oh. State your name and occupation for the court, please.
My name is Madame Esmeralda Two Spells. I am a waxwork artisan, and the proprietress of the Madame Two Spells Museum of Waxwork. You will have to pardon me for working as I testify. My new exhibit must open very soon.
Oh, so he finally gets a statue, does he? Now there are two of them in the world.
Oh my, what expression is she carving onto that face?
A number of days ago, a particular waxwork model was stolen from your museum. Can you confirm this?
Oui, as that is true. At first, we believed it had been kidnapped.
Waxwork model? Kidnapped?
Yes, my lord. There was a demand for ransom money left in the courtroom. However, according to what has been told outside the courtroom, that was not the true reason. I understand it was utilized as a substitute for the body of a murder victim.
At present, that is no more than conjecture by the defense. And this is the victim of the case in question, Mr. Odious Man.
But of course, I know him well. He is a part of my odious personages exhibit. I detest to say that what is evident, but Mr. Esmond does not resemble the professor at all.
Yes, but perhaps their faces are very similar.
Are you suggesting that we should see now the demasked visage of the professor? I have here the key, but it is strictly forbidden to open the lock.
This is absurd.
Pardon?
I don't know what face you carved onto your fancy figure beneath that mask. But clearly it won't be that of the actual killer.
Indeed. The man's identity was never made public after all.
The trial took place in a closed court. The proceedings were strictly confidential. The condemned man was summarily executed. His identity remains a closely guarded national secret. There is no possible way that a repository of Todd's exhibits could get its hands on that information. Oh god, she's gonna be mad.
Quel dommage. It would seem you are unaware of the Two Spells principles.
What principles?
The family of Two Spells has always prided itself on sculpting its models a la perfection. every detail, including the visage, is fashioned with complete fidelity. Et voila, auto principle. There's a well-known legend about the Two Spells waxworks from the time of the French Revolution. How's my French accent? A member of the Two Spells family is said to have made a waxwork of the queen who was executed. Oui, that is true. It was a century ago. I believe the queen's face was carved in the minutes following her death, at the guillotine site. You are correct. The model is on display still today in the House of Horror. We Two Spells will stop nothing to obtain a faithful replica of our subjects. Dear me, a somewhat disturbing tenacity of purpose. It is the only way to obtain a truly lifelike representation of the subject. It has been my family's secret for generations. Do you mean to say that beneath that mask? Oui, the true visage of the killer is there. This is ludicrous. It's out of the question. Professor spread terror throughout Great Britain. As a result, the Madame Tussauds special exhibit remains extremely popular even today. The killer, emerging from his own grave, it is a sight to behold. You should come. I think, Madame, it would be beneficial to hear your formal testimony on this matter. You will explain every detail of this macabre model, and your personal involvement in its creation. With pleasure. The Professor of Waxwork. The special exhibit in the House of Horrors is based on a rumor that shocked society in London. An impression of the visage was taken directly from the corpse, in accordance with the Two Spells family principles. I enlisted the aid of the gravedigger and created a mold for the head in the cemetery just before the interment. I hid myself until he gave me a signal. I was there for a very long time that night. As dawn approached, I was very worried that I would be discovered.
The gravedigger. The man sanctioned this.
Oui, I will do all that is necessary to achieve the true resemblance my family is celebrated for. Nobody else knew, only the gravedigger. What harm did he do, huh?
So you truly saw the face of that monster.
Naturally, I was aware at the time that his identity was a secret. But Two Spells would not be Two Spells if he did not insist on absolute fidelity to our sculpt's rules.
I don't believe this. I myself have seen the special exhibit at your museum, Madame. A truly blood-curdling scene in which the murderer is emerging from his own grave.
The scene it depicts was the subject of many rumors in London 10 years ago. I have here a newspaper from the time. The special exhibit was based on the picture in this article. It was the most detailed account of what happened as is reported by the eyewitnesses who saw it.
We know that is Drebber. The man rises from the grave. It's too absurd.
The public enjoy absurdity, monsieur. That is why I have reproduced the scene as carefully as possible in my museum.
And it's a waxwork from that exhibit that was stolen some days before the incident at the Great Exhibition, wasn't it?
That is correct. The professor you see before you here.
Most puzzling. Counsel for the defense, proceed with the cross-examination.
This waxwork links Drebber to Dr. Scythe, and there has to be some reason for that which hasn't yet come to light. But I'll find it. I'll get to the bottom of what really happened. I'll prove that Dr. Scythe and Drebber were in on this crime together. The special exhibit in the House of Horrors is based on a rumor that shocked society in London.
Hold it!
And that rumor would be a 10-year-old tale now, but one that no Londoner would... I know... It couldn't be anything else but that. Yes.
The tale of the condemned killer rising from the dead. That is the central attraction of my house of horror. The rumor was whispered all over the city, and it was like this. It was in Lowgate Cemetery behind the prison, in the dead of the night after the execution of the killer. The intern professor slid back the stone slab covering his tomb and emerged from his grave. A young man who witnessed this felt a scream welling up inside him. But an instant later, he heard an ear-splitting gunshot from over his shoulder. But the bullet struck the emerging corpse and he fell motionless once more. The scream finally found its way from the mouth of the young witness, who turned and ran for his life.
The corpse climbed out of his own grave? And then somebody shot him? Who? Who was it?
Nobody knows, even today. But remember, it was just a rumor. Perhaps nothing more than a ghost story. The good people of London, they love stories like this. That is why it is in every newspaper across the capital.
But was it just a story? I mean, this is exactly the scene that can be seen today at your museum, isn't it?
Really? The spectacular exhibit was modeled on the very illustration. For a while afterwards, the contents of that article were reproduced in every newspaper imaginable.
Madame, might I say something?
Please, go ahead, mademoiselle.
When something is described as a rumor, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's entirely made up. I believe that often, rumors contain the elements of the truth.
Ah, I see that people from the East can be just as astute as the people of Europe.
Can we be sure, for instance, that the professor's execution was successful?
It is not possible for the dead to come back to life.
Sorry?
10 years ago, I was there in the Lowgate Cemetery, after the criminal known as the Professor was killed by the hanging. I took a wax impression of his result from the corpse just before it was interred. So I can assure you, the man was dead.
I see. It would certainly appear that the condemned man suffered the intended fate. That was a lot of impressions.
Hold it!
That was a lot of details to come out. Is that true of every waxwork in your museum then?
Is assuming the subject is dead, of course. Live subjects have to cooperate in a similar way. I have letters from imprisoned criminals all the time, you know.
What sort of letters?
When my time comes, please make a waxwork of me. Comment ça?
No.
My museum is famous, monsieur. To be made into a waxwork is an honor, and for some criminals a symbol of status human.
Because nothing says hardened criminal better than wax. I mean, it's hardened.
I need to stick to one killer in particular that my museum has gained such popularity in London. But if you refer to the star of the special exhibit, of course, the Professor.
Form you claim to have captured by taking an impression from the actual corpse.
There are no exceptions to the principles of two spells.
I enlisted the aid of the grave digger and created a mold of the cemetery just before the interment. I think she was there. I would like to believe that she was there.
Hold it!
Who was a grave digger? Surely that's illegal, isn't it? It would seem the proprietress of this repository of novelties was blinded by monetary greed.
It had nothing to do with money. The man is part of London criminal history. That is why I had to sculpt him, to record this history. It is a raison d'etre of the Two Spells Museum.
But if the man was convicted in a closed court and set for immediate execution, then surely nobody but the members of the judiciary present know the killer's true identity.
I assure you, behind that mask is hidden the true face of the Professor.
You realize what you're saying. The professor's identity is a national secret.
I understand. And now that the special exhibit has been revealed, it must perhaps close.
Of course it will. As will your entire museum if you don't tread very carefully, Dan.
That would be another interesting chapter in the history of my family, don't you think?
So 10 years ago, on the night of the professor's execution, you took a wax impression of his face from the corpse?
Oui, exactement.
He was there for a very long time.
Hold it!
You were there longer than you expected to be?
I had some difficulties in capturing the subject's form correctly. As I removed the mask, the mouth of the cadaver fell open and I had some troubles with the chin.
Dare I ask?
The man had been dead for a short while already, you see. His muscles were relaxing, consequently his chin would not align itself correctly.
Oh dear.
What a horrible thought. Under normal circumstances, I would have an assistant with me. However, that night, I was alone. And as a consequence, I missed my preferred window of time.
What do you mean?
When I take the impression of the visage of a cadaver, I always wait until 3 hours after death.
Why 3 hours? Is that amount of time significant?
It is because of rigor mortis.
Rigor mortis. It's the name given to a phenomenon that occurs in recently deceased bodies. As a rule, 3 hours post-death, the muscles in the bodies begin to stiffen. By approximately 10 hours post-death, the entire body is completely rigid and inflexible. And then from that point on, the muscles slowly start to revert to their relaxed state. The effect is often used to estimate the time of death when a body is discovered. Well, that was an education, if a slightly scary one. I mean,
As the mademoiselle says, rigor mortis commences 3 hours after death, and it starts in the jaw.
I see. So that's why you wait.
Before that time, the mouth falls open, and it is very difficult to do my work.
It's getting hard for me to do my work with all the talk of corpses. I mean, you're gonna have to. Wait, it's significant? I'm gonna wait and see. I think I'd rather pretend I didn't hear any of those grim details and try to forget all about it. Thank you, madame. Please continue. We'll continue on.
Certainly. So, you comprehend a little of the process now, and why it took me so long that night.
You were very worried that you could be discovered. Okay, we already...
Hold it!
Say that dawn was approaching. What was the time of day then? Approximately. Well, I could not say, but when I left the cemetery with my utensils and wax, the moonlight was becoming visible. It took place on 17th June, which had the earliest sunrise of that year. The first light would have been at around 4:40 in the morning.
I had very little time, so I finished my work in a half hour. It was necessary to complete the impression and bury the body before daybreak, of course. If somebody had discovered me there, it would have been a catastrophe. So I had to hurry.
Is it me, or does Mr. Sholmes seem to be taking shape more quickly now, too? You certainly appear to go extraordinary lengths of your work, madame. Is that particularly significant? Wait. We'll wait and see. And I think we're gonna make the significance on part 4. I mean, it's wax. You'll be fine. Now, if that's really true, because there's only other thing we know of that links to Paragon, so I feel sure that the wax work must be clued to the mystery somehow. Hold on, can I look at... They said time. He said that it took more than 10 hours? Midnight 17 June? Wait a minute. Oh, my eye is hurting. My bad. I'm having a little bit of a tension headache. Like, you know the area between your eye that's getting a sudden pain from that. Okay. So the last 2 statements are apparently significant. So gonna skip all this. Three hours after death. We already know. Do we have to? I don't know. I feel like some of the pressing stuff. Yeah. Very difficult to do. Significant. Feeling that after this latest topic. Atmosphere in the courtroom has become extremely grave. Oh my god, what a pun! Kindly amend your state testimony as discussed. Bienso? Bonso? My bad. Should have been bonso. Or bien... Wait, is it bienso? Anyways. Took me a very long time because it was before the onset of rigor mortis.
Objection!
That doesn't seem right. You have an autos with that file 10 years ago. Following his execution at the gallows. And is that the problem? I believe it is, because your testimony and particular detail in the report completely contradicts one another. What? Are you going to explain yourself, my Nipponese friend? According to her testimony, Madame Two Spells was creating her wax impression just before dawn, and at that time, rigor mortis had not yet set in. Am I correct so far, Madame? You are, yes. As I said, the stiffening of the jaw is the first sign of rigor mortis 2 to 3 hours after death. But the man's chin was limp, so he cannot have been dead for a long time. But on the other hand, if you look at Dr. Sai's report, it quite clearly states the following. Death by hanging confirmed at midnight, 17 June. No! If the professor indeed died at midnight that day, then by the time you were sculpting his face, rigor mortis would have already set in. Wow, oui! Yes, you are right. His chin, it would have been completely stiff. In other words, this report is wrong.
Objection!
No coroner makes mistakes when recording the time of death. The very idea is absurd. In that case, there's only one possible conclusion. The execution didn't actually take place at the stated time. Impossible! Nani? Bakana!
Objection!
My learned friend appears to have overlooked one very crucial fact. What fact? The professor died that night. Without question. He did? Of course he did. I moved the man's limp jaw with my own hands. There was no... Yes, the professor died that night. But what if he didn't die at the gallows? Didn't die at... Are you insane? What exactly are you suggesting did happen in that case? It's almost impossible to believe, but it would explain the link between Dr. Sai, the professor, and that one other person of interest. I have evidence that will explain exactly what I'm suggesting that happened that night. Counsel, present the evidence at once. The evidence that allegedly explains what really happened on the night of the professor's execution.
Take that!
What happened that night is written very plainly in this newspaper article. Executed criminal returns in the dead of night at local cemetery. You're suggesting it was a corpse coming back from the dead now. Well, if this article is to be believed, yes, the professor, assumed dead following his execution, emerged from his grave and was killed again.
Objection!
Don't be a fool. That's simply a rumor published by the gutter press. Can you be certain of that? Are you serious? The point is, as the article says, there was a witness to what happened. My word, yes indeed. Aye, oui. The young man who stole into the cemetery by chance that night.
Objection!
Of course there was a witness. The story didn't write itself, but obviously the man made it all up. And in any case, this was 10 years ago now. There would surely be no hope of finding it.
Objection!
On the contrary, my lord, we all know this witness very well. Oh, my bad. I added a word. What? Are you suggesting, Counselor, that you've identified the person in question? Then you know who claims to have seen these utterly incredible events take place. Yes, my lord. In fact, you could say that he's right here before my very eyes. You will substantiate your latest claim now, then, Counsel. Who is the alleged witness of the staggering scene from the cemetery 10 years ago?
Take that!
The man in question is Mr. Enoch Drebber.
Drebber?
The previous witness. A special exhibit in the House of Horrors at Madame Tuspel's Museum of Waxwork recreates that decade-old scene in great detail. The condemned criminal emerging from the grave, and beside the tomb, a young man with a lantern stumbling upon the terrifying sight. And that young man is 10-year younger Mr. Enoch Drebber. Drebber was there? In Lowgate Cemetery?
What is all this talk about Mr. Zebra? Is the name significant?
Of course, Madame Tuspel doesn't know, does she? Yes, it is extremely significant, Madame. To your situation as well, in fact.
What situation?
The theft of the Professor of Waxwork from your museum some days ago was perpetrated by the very same man.
No! But that would mean...
Madame Tuspel. It would appear you know the name, Enoch Drebber.
Wait, yes, I know it. But from long ago in the past.
What? Oh my. Good gracious! Explain yourself. Tell us everything you know.
Yes, of course. The story of this young man and the terrible sight he witnessed in the cemetery 10 years ago was published in every single newspaper in London and throughout the Great Britain. However, in all of the articles, the witness was simply described as a certain young man. No details were published about his identity. His name was never revealed.
My French accent is running away from me.
That is apart from in one newspaper. The Daily Circus. It is the paper from which comes the article I have already shown in the court.
You're saying that his full name was only publicized in that article? Goodness me, yes, here it is! The university student who experienced this shocking event is Mr. Enoch Drebber, a disciple of sight inside the University of London and a resident of his student dorms. Unbelievable.
When I read the article, I went to meet with the man. His discovery of the condemned criminal coming back to life in the cemetery in the dead of night would make a perfect exhibit for my House of Horrors, whether it was the truth or not.
I see. So you went to Mr. Drebber in order to discover waxwork of the man, did you?
Exactly. He was studying science at the University of London those days. He was just a poor student. I paid him £5 to model for the waxwork. Since that time, he has been in my museum to recreate the scene of terror from the cemetery.
She's been here for 10 years at least. She should have a less thick accent. But I can't do that. Because I don't know any other French accent. And besides, she's also speaking French too, so she probably has a thick accent. So 10 years ago, a young man appeared to the public about an extraordinary event he witnessed. A criminal who had been put to death, re-emerging from his grave in the middle of the night. But the public treated his claim as nothing more than an amusing anecdote that was soon forgotten. 10 years later, The same man steals a waxwork model of the executed criminal, ostensibly to use as a body double for the victim in the case we're discussing here today, even though the waxworks build is a poor match for the victim, and its face is obscured by a mask. So the question is, why would the man do such a thing? Isn't that on us to figure it out? Which brings us to 3 days ago when the birdcage crashed into the Crystal Tower. The birdcage had in fact contained not the body of Mr. Asmund, but that same waxwork. The coroner from Scotland Yard who investigated Dr. Scythe would have noticed immediately. And yet, she submitted this autopsy report for the victim, which the court has seen earlier. Why? Because the waxwork was that of the professor. Is that what you're saying? Dr. Scythe put her name into a document confirming the death of a condemned criminal who was still alive. A criminal whose apparent resurrection was witnessed by Mr. Drebber. That misconduct was a deadly secret the coroner would do anything to protect. Which is precisely why Mr. Drebber used that particular waxwork as a body double. My lord, this court must summon Dr. Scythe to the stand. The defense is determined to find out exactly how the coroner and Mr. Drebber are connected. According to the missive I received this morning through the prosecutor's office, Dr. Scythe is unable to participate in these proceedings. Is that not the case? She told us so herself, didn't she? Lord Van Zieks will be summoning me as a witness. Lord Strongheart has forbidden it. Lord Strongheart? The Pandora's box you were warned about is the professor case. But please don't make the mistake of thinking you'll get any information about it out of me. Something happened on the night of that killer's execution 10 years ago, and surely nobody would want to get to the bottom of that more than Lord Van Zieks. The prosecution calls for the instructions in that missive to be scrapped. But Lord Van Zieks, the missive was issued from the Lord Chief Justice's office.
Objection!
The assigned prosecutor has the final say on policy in any particular trial. In other words, me. Yes! Let Enoch Drebber and Dr. Scythe both take the stand together. Order! Order! Very well, I will uphold your request. Bailiffs, send that subpoena with immediate effect addressed to Dr. Scythe in the forensic investigation. The woman is compelled to attend on Her Majesty's orders. Alright then, Enoch Drebber and Dr. Scythe. If they weren't colluding with one another, this crime could have never been committed. I'm just a stone throw away. I can feel it. The truth behind all of this is about to come out. Hey, why are you still here? Thank you for your attendance to such short notice, Dr. Scythe. I'm disappointed in you, Lord Van Zieks. You've completely betrayed the agreed policy of both Scotland Yard and the prosecutor's office. Betrayal is not in my nature, as long as the truth is in conflict. If there's even a hint of wrongdoing, then no matter whom it concerns or disgruntled, I will pursue the matter to the bitter end, as would any prosecutor worth his salt. Mr. Drebber, you took the victim's life by means of a machine that you constructed in your workshop. And Dr. Scythe, as the investigating coroner, you were the first on the scene to examine the victim's body. It is the belief of the defense that you collaborated with each other and were both complicit in this crime. Where is your evidence? At present, we have no definitive evidence, but we do have a very significant clue. What are you talking about? I'm talking, of course, about the waxwork. This model of the killer known as a professor was sentenced to death 10 years ago. You don't need to tell me. I witnessed the man's execution with my own eyes.
and officially pronounced him dead. That remains to be seen. Is that so? According to newspaper reports from the time on the night following his execution, the killer came back to life. Don't waste my time. And the sole witness to that mysterious event was you, Mr. Drebber, wasn't it? If what you saw in the graveyard that night 10 years ago wasn't some chilling fiction but reality, it will make you privy to a very great secret of Dr. Sides. A secret so profound it could compel the coroner to agree to collaborate in your evil scheme, in fact. Mr. Drebber, tell the court, tell everyone the truth of what you saw that night in Lowgate Cemetery. So he was a student who saw it. Yes, he was. The man in Madame Tussauds. Yeah, he is. Surely he's not going to claim that's really what he saw, especially not after all these years. I mean, he might. Bit too clever for his own good. Jesus Christ, be nice. What an interesting twist. When at the time, not one person would take me seriously. Yet now here we are, 10 years later, and suddenly my story matters. And in a court of law, too. Very well then, if everyone so wishes. Let's be frank. I'll tell you the truth of what happened that night, for what is worth. Oh, she big mad. She big mad. So, Mr. Drebber, your testimony, please, about the events of that night 10 years ago. You will tell the court exactly what you stumbled across in Lowgate Cemetery. Yes, of course, as you wish. In the cemetery. The reason I was in Lowgate Cemetery all these 10 years ago was for a spot of moonlighting, shall we say. Yes, the illustration in that newspaper article was based on what I witnessed that night. But thinking back now, I realized that I never actually saw the professor. Soon afterwards, I was visited by a young woman who sculpted a model of me from wax. Then I gave up on my dream of becoming a scientist. It was all because of that newspaper article. Okay, hold on. Wait a minute. You're claiming you didn't actually see the professor now? Of course. You'd have to have a screw loose if you believe the corpse would come back from the dead. But not worth the paper it's printed on. I think that would describe it perfectly, yes. The details in the article aren't true. It nullifies your argument for why Mr. Drebber and Dr. Sides would have been working together. Cemetery on some auxiliary business. Can you elaborate? Right, grave robbing, to be precise. As you know, Lowgate Cemetery is at the rear of Barclay Prison, so among students at the university, it had a reputation for being haunted by the ghosts of condemned convicts.
Grave robbing, you say?
Yes, exhuming fresh corpses to sell is reasonably lucrative. Of course, I never laid a finger on any valuables buried with the dead. You were one of the so-called resurrectionists, particularly a pleasant scourge on society. Actually, my fellows and I went by another name. The Repurposers.
That is quite beyond the pale. You would invite divine retribution, sir.
Yes, well, I think I suffered retribution enough. The Daily Circus eventually unearthed my name and put it in print. It caused me a great many headaches. In the end, I had to leave the university. That was the only paper with the bad grace to identify me unambiguously, I might add. See, out of interest, who drew the illustration for this article? Ah, yes, that was the reporter who exposed me. He sketched that right in front of me as I described the scene. Obviously, as time ticked on, I bitterly regretted what I'd done, claiming to have seen something I never truly saw. Foolish. Very foolish.
Well, counsel for the defense, you may proceed with to the cross-examination now. At once, my lord.
We're gonna press everything. He's known as a low-gate cemetery. I'll tell you what's for a spot of moonlighting.
Hold it!
Moonlighting? You mean grave robbing? Surely you don't need to look at my grave and the lantern and the spade.
He called it a spade too.
Better understand the human, crucial to medical science. In a hospital in the world that has enough specimens to work with, obviously they can't openly express the instance. Yeah.
Isn't grave robbing still a thing today? Even he says spade.
You need a fund for research, yeah? Well, if you wanted to know why I was there at Lowgate Cemetery, that's the reason. I never expected to end the way it did, that I regret to this day.
Hold it!
That's the police at the time, you know? I was shaking like a leaf. Didn't believe a word of it. In fact, I was very nearly arrested myself. Didn't want to know either. At the end, though, it was reporters from the gossip rags. Their gun reports. Oh. Gossip. Some broadsheets. 2 or 3 of them actually interviewed me personally. So the account turned out to be a very interpretive ghost story. About the article in the Daily Circus. Journalist found me at my dormitory. I don't know how. I just got my name. Ow, my lip is hurting. Enoch Trevor. Trevor just makes me think grave robber now. Portrayed in illustration accurate then? Oh.
Hold it!
Did you put? Cemetery is rear Barclay. Renowned event. I would have thought, you know, he would be the one to do it. For Madame Two Spells, but apparently not. My mind's. After all, resurrection is impossible. Hinge to think otherwise. Of course. You have some evidence that I encountered the professor that night. I mean, we do, kind of. Yeah, so we gotta present something to him. I was visited by young people. I think we present this to him.
Objection!
I mean, we already You did see the professor on that night 10 years ago. Oh dear. We seem to be at odds, but I was there, and you were not. I know what I didn't see. The illustration with this article was drawn based upon what you told journalists that you witnessed. A figure emerging from a tomb, wearing an iron mask. Yes, when the killer was tried 10 years ago, it was decided in the closed court's ruling that the man would wear the mask to hide his identity. It wasn't to be removed even during his execution and subsequent burial. Not even the prison wardens were to see the man's face, but obviously the provision of this mask was not public knowledge. So, Mr. Drebber, as you've just heard, a lowly student of the University of London certainly wouldn't have known about the condemned man's mask. And so, unless you'd actually seen the professor that night, it's inconceivable that the artist would have included the mask in that illustration. Well, Mr. Drebber. It is a vile scene, isn't it? If you look closely. And as I've already been at pains to point out, I was utterly petrified, which is why I had it in my head that I'd seen such a blood-curdling sight. But afterwards I came to my senses and realized that I'd been mistaken. You're still saying you didn't see it? If you're stubbornly sticking to that story, witness, then amend your testimony to explain exactly how you think your eyes deceived you. Of course. Only too happy to oblige. I can't believe he's still not going to concede the point. I mean, this is like perjury in the making, no?
Hold it!
That young woman being Madame Two Spells. Yes. Don't run into this. Once I found the man. The article in the Daily Circus, I think you said. I was a poor student with barely a penny to my name at the time, and the young lady put £5 in front of me. You readily consented to having a waxwork of yourself made, and gave permission for it to be put on display. I did. I should sell what little I had to sell, I concluded. Ah, oui. I remember now. I purchased something else from you that day. Nestle. Did you? I can't say I remember. What was it, madam? It's Kamala. Ah. Oh yes, I made a point of taking it with me whenever I made an excursion to any cemetery. You took a camera with you, sir? To what end? To record the details of the bodies I disturbed. But I had no intention of ever visiting a graveyard again after that night, so I sold it. Still have it, monsieur. It is part of the special exhibit in my house of photos. I am very meticulous about such details. It is a two-spell space. It would seem then that this is the very camera Mr. Drebber took with him to Ludgate Cemetery. Interesting. Then I gave up on my dreams of becoming a scientist, and it was all because of a newspaper article. Somebody informed the dean that it was my name that appeared in a... Kelly lives that and I was digging up graves. I hardly a model student, you might say. Oh. That was a spell. Mon Dieu, I had no idea. And having been run out of university, you found employment in a somewhat specialist trade. Combined your knowledge of science with knowledge of stage matter. Create various experimental machines tend to demonstrate never seen. Use those deceptive machines to trick the government and private investors into money. Professor Albert Harebrant was just your latest victim, wasn't he? Whatever are you talking about? I have no recollection of doing anything of the sort. Okay, well that's all the testimony. Yeah. Having seen the professor emerging alive from his grave, yeah. It was supposed a secret in Dr. Sai's past that she used to hide. Working together. Then if Miss Trevor was betrayed, there would be no reason for her to cooperate. Yeah.
proof he really did see it. We're gonna prove it with that camera. Thank you. Was it this?
Objection!
No. What am I supposed to present it on? I think I'm supposed to present in... Or did I present it in the wrong statement? Let me press on this.
Hold it!
Fellow grave robber. Just another student on the plea against the lucrative business. Students would wear metal masks to protect them from bacteria during dissection. Metal mask?
Objection!
But there's more to the story, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. The article goes on to say... bullet pierced the resurrected man's chest. His breath then still functional. And that the sexton discovered on the miscreants at work fired upon one of them. Gravedigger has shot someone in the cemetery. I think it might have been rather big news, my lord. Yeah. I can only assume it was an embarrassment bolted on later by the reporter.
Excuse me!
Excuse me? Oh, ooh la la. Pardon. I was lost in my thoughts. Would it be fair to say that Mr. Drebber's last remark was significant to you in some way? I thought it was a little strange, that is all. How Monsieur Drebber could claim this now? Don't mind me saying, madame. What are you talking about? Well, when I met you 10 years ago at your university dormitory, you recounted to me about your adventures in the cemetery, no? Including the gunshot. Stop! You might have wanted to watch your tongue, you know.
Objection!
Everyone's slamming down on the thing. Have a care, Drebber. That's no way to speak to a lady. Grr. Please, Madame Tuspels, carry on. Of course. Holding to what Monsieur Drebber told me at the time, he did hear a gunshot from behind him, and the bullet did hit the condemned man. I said nothing of the sort. No, you were very explicit about the details. About the mask that fit the figure was wearing. And the blood that was splattered over you when he was shot. Enough! Shut up, woman! You're making all this up. That will do. Mr. Drebber. Yes? You refute the account just given by Madame Tuspels? I have no recollection of ever saying those things. Come on! Do you really expect us to believe you? Control yourself, counsel! I will not permit baseless accusations in my courtroom. Right. Under the circumstances, I think it best that you supplement your testimony with a statement to clarify your position on this witness. Very well. There was no gun. Oh, okay, this is the one I'm supposed to present to. Oops, I went backwards.
Objection!
Mr. Drebber, do you remember this camera? That is the camera from the fateful night. Yes, we borrowed it from the House of Horrors. It is the camera you took with you to the cemetery that night, Mr. Drebber. And is that supposed to be significant? This kind of camera is rarely seen in our homeland, so my colleague and I were keen to examine it closely. We noticed that the lens extends forwards on the end of some bellows. Like this.
Hold it!
What is that? There, just on the bellows. It looks like
a dark red stain. Ah, that's right. It's a rather conspicuous mark here on the bellows, in fact. Good lord, are you suggesting? Yes, my lord. It would appear to be a spatter of blood. Something that could be confirmed with a simple chemical test. Isn't that right, Dr. Sai? It would be difficult to determine if it was human blood and not the blood of some animal. But yes, to test whether or not it's blood at all is simple enough. I propose that Madame Two Spell's testimony was correct, and that on the night in question 10 years ago, you were splattered with blood from the gunshot wound. Well, and that furthermore, you really did witness the condemned professor emerging from his tomb. Yeah. I like the organ sounds. It's great. There's simply no way he could have forgotten such a traumatic experience. In other words, the only explanation... Hold on, give me 1 second. Is that you're trying to hide the fact that you saw the professor that night.
Objection!
Why? Why would he want to do that? Well, not for his own gain, it would seem. For whose then? Who could it benefit? Mr. Trevor is obviously lying in order to protect somebody. My goodness, he's shielding someone! Yes, my lord. And clearly, it's someone who doesn't want the truth about the professor coming back to life to be exposed. Well, Council, who is it then?
Take that!
We're gonna present Courtney Scythe. The obvious answer is Dr. Scythe. Scythe? Whatever do you mean? Imagine if the convict who'd been sentenced to death was not in fact killed. Imagine if that was to come to light. What are you insinuating? And imagine if the convict in question was the country's most hated mass murderer. If it was the professor. That would be an unprecedented scandal!
Objection!
This is beyond a joke. Need I point out that the dead cannot come back to life? What you're suggesting would mean that the execution never actually happened. Yes, that's exactly what it would mean.
Objection!
Once a man is sent to the gallows, he hangs. No one could escape, not in Great Britain.
Objection!
But the fact is, there was a witness to the fact that the man did escape his hanging. If that were really true, Counsel, the implication of misconduct would not stop at the supervising coroner. It would taint the honor of the entire judiciary, from the ground up. And it's exactly because of those monumental repercussions that Dr. Scythe would consent to any demand made of her by someone who threatened to expose the secret, even if that meant being complicit in a crime. You mean... I mean that Dr. Scythe wasn't collaborating in Mr. Drebber's wicked scheme. She was coerced into collaborating in order to protect her decade-old secret. She switched the dead body of Mr. Asman with the waxwork model and fabricated the autopsy report. Ah! Yeah, we found it out. Lord Van Zinks! Pray forgive. My freshly filled hollow chalice. And a whole raft of other discourtesies. His boot! Goodness me! It's just the sort of tall tale Londoners would enjoy, I grant you. I'm gonna use my mouse right now because my friend is asking me to do something for them. So I'm doing two things at once. It's just a sort of, an executed killer rising from the dead, a Scotland Yard cover-up, a conspiracy at the highest levels. So let me ask you one thing. that? If the condemned man really did emerge from his tomb, only to be shot in the chest, who pulled the trigger? Disposed of him forever. Oh, well, I have no idea at the moment. We have too little information to work out at present, I think. I couldn't agree more. Oh, he already drank his glass of wine, Jesus. The Old Bailey is no place for wild fantasies. Ugh. And have you considered this, my Nipponese friend? Considered what? Do you realize just what a dangerous endeavor it would be to coerce this woman into such criminal activity? It's tantamount to declaring war on the entire British police force and judiciary.
I hard to imagine any sum of money being offered for research could warrant it.
To rely on some staged deception when so much is at stake would be madness.
Well, I suppose... And this was no petty crime either. The victim was murdered. A man who'd already invested money in the venture and would be instrumental in future profits too. Yes, I had no reason to kill Mr. Asman at all. Or are you forgetting that his death resulted in me receiving not a single penny? The court is already aware of the contract between myself and the victim, no?
There is the contract, that's very true.
Motive for this case runs deep, though. I can feel it. Using threats to force the head of the forensic investigation team to cooperate is extreme. Especially for a government grant he had no guarantee of receiving in the first place. If the research grant was aimed, taking Mr. Asman's life would have made no sense anyway. Which means, Mr. Drever's motive wasn't money at all. He was just trying to kill Mr. Asman. But why? What was his motive then? Your time is up, my learned friend. I'd say you have one last chance before the jury lose their patience with this charade. Let's see if you can back up your heady proposal, shall we? Okay. Ah, he dodges back. That's funny. Why this engineer would throw all the caution and threaten his own country. At this point, I'm not prepared to listen to more of this outlandish conjecture without proof. Hold on. Oh, I see.
So, counsel, present your evidence.
Alright, who was Mr. Asman to Drever? There's a connection there that no one's seen yet, and I'm going to have to present 2 pieces of evidence to show what it is. Yes, my lord. The evidence that establishes a motive and explains why the witness wanted the victim dead is right here. This one?
Take that!
It's this newspaper article, my lord. That was written 10 years ago. And every detail has been examined already. What can it possibly tell us? That drivel should never have been written. It is typical gutter press nonsense that means nothing. Yes, on its own it isn't particularly significant. However, when considered alongside another piece of evidence, it will completely explain your motive for wanting to Mr. Asman dead. What other evidence?
Counsel, you will present your supplementary evidence without delay. The evidence which, then, when cross-referenced with the newspaper article, will establish a motive for the deed!
It's the contract! It's this contract, my lord. Mr. Drever, this is a contract you signed with Mr. Asman. Yes, that's right. The very document, in fact. that proves I had no reason to kill the man. No, I'm afraid not. What? There's something very significant that this newspaper article and the contract have in common. Really? And it's that common link that shows very clearly why you were determined to kill Mr. Odie Asman. It seems the defense has uncovered something the rest of us has missed. So, my learned friend, point out what these two pieces of evidence have in common. Where exactly is the link between this newspaper article and the contract?
Take that!
What these two pieces of evidence have in common is a signature.
A signature?
The signature on the illustration that accompanies the 10-year-old article and the signature on the contract belong to the same person.
What?
Duh! As the court has heard, this illustration was drawn 10 years ago by the newspaper reporter who found Mr. Drebber and interviewed him about his ordeal. If you look closely, the reporter's signature can be seen in the bottom right corner of the drawing. And if you look at the contract here, which was signed between the witness and the victim last year, you can clearly see Mr. Asman's signature on the bottom.
Let me see now. Good lord, yes! They're identical!
In short, the journalist who drew the illustration and wrote the article published about Mr. Drebber 10 years ago was the victim of this case, Mr. Odie Asman.
Objection!
But explain to the court, why? Why would that constitute a motive for the witness to murder Asman? Well, if you think back, you'll remember that Mr. Drebber talked about that article in his testimony. Exhuming fresh corpses. My ear has pressure on it? My ear is like... The Daily Circus eventually unearthed my name in print. It caused me a great many headaches. In the end, I had to leave the university. That was the only paper with the bad grace to identify me unambiguously, I might add. Then I gave up on my dream of becoming a scientist, and it was all because of that newspaper article. At the time, you were a student of the University of London who dreamt of becoming a scientist. However, this single newspaper article changed your entire life. So Mr. Asman used to be a newspaper journalist, did he? He did, my lord. In fact, it is a widely held belief that Asman managed to position himself at the heart of his criminal network, thanks to the many dubious connections he made during his time as a reporter. So you had to give up on your dream and leave university. You lost everything. Eventually, you found yourself working in the field of science, but only in the shadows. And all because of that article, written by Mr. Asman.
Enough!
Stop this endless drivel about my life. What?
Explain yourself, Mr. Drebber.
Yes, it's true. I had to leave the university as a result of that article. But it was just the straw that broke the camel's back. What do you mean? Almost every student of science in the faculty was too poor to actually conduct any research. But they struggled on their hypotheses anyway. We all did. Only have them taken by vultures. Sooner or later, you knew your ideas would be stolen and patented by some retro or other after all.
Good gracious!
Making a name for yourself as a scientist in a climate like that was a miracle only a select few geniuses could ever hope to achieve. Personally, I wasn't one of those geniuses, so it was hardly a wrench. Being forced out of university because of Lowgate was the best thing that could have happened to me.
Objection!
Mr. Drebber, do you genuinely believe that? Of course I do. Who's better placed to know whether or not I possess a talent for science than me? I'm sorry to say that your words don't ring true at all. How dare you? And I have evidence to prove it. How are you in a position to say anything about me? I don't know you from Adam. Fine, if you think you have evidence, go ahead, show it. What could you possibly have to prove the idea that I was happy to leave university because I lack talent?
Take that!
Do you remember this, Mr. Trevor? We found it at your workshop. Is that a Royal Society trophy for excellence in science? What exactly is this trophy, Council? It's the greatest honor that can be bestowed on a young scientist, my lord. There is no higher accolade. It recognizes emerging talent and promises of a bright future. Good gracious! Your prospects for the future were excellent, weren't they, Mr. Trevor? Because even then, you were a genius in your field. But you lost everything. You had no more future. Your talents would go to waste. All as a result of this one newspaper article. I don't know when you realized who Mr. Asmund was, but when it dawned on you that he was the same journalist who 10 years ago ruined your life, it's abundantly clear that you had no intention of forgiving the man. The truth is, finally, he's going to fold. Hold it! I think it's Hairbrain who says. I feel like. Oh, it's actually Scythe. Fine. Clearly, this has run its course now. What? I admit it. All of it. What? What are you doing? It's exactly as the Japanese man said. I was coerced into going along with this man's plot to murder the victim, on the condition that he kept my dirty secret from 10 years ago. No. Good lord! Dr. Scythe, do you realize what you're saying, woman? It's all true. That day, when I arrived at the Crystal Tower and saw the birdcage, my heart nearly stopped beating. That memory from a decade ago that I'd done my best to bury deep inside myself. It was a professor again, staring me in the face. And then, before I had a chance to react, I noticed something else. There was a note tucked inside the model's jacket. Dr. Scythe, you will go along with my plan. From someone who knows the truth about what really happened that night, 10 years ago. That sounds very similar to the freaking last case with Olive Green. All the instructions were there in the note. Every detail was meticulously written out. I had no choice but to do what it said. I made the necessary alterations to the scene and fabricated the autopsy report as instructed. There was really no other choice. It had to be done to protect the judiciary. I can only apologize now. Hi, NB. Hi. Why on earth would you buckle now? Well, there's no point to trying to hide it anymore, is there? I would have done anything to stop it coming out, even collaborate in a murder. But the great lie about that execution 10 years ago has been exposed. Whatever happens, I'm finished. So then, Mr. Drebber, what do you say to that? Your accomplice has admitted everything. Hi, Kitty. Surely it goes without saying. You admit your part in it too, then. I admit nothing at all. What? Have you forgotten that the kinesis machine was ripped to shreds by an explosion? Short of me admitting to a crime, there's really no possible way for you to prove I did anything wrong. No!
Order!
Whatever this man says, I admit everything. He threatened to expose my secret, so I went along with his plan. And Lord Van Zeeks, I hope you'll accept my apologies. What happens next is in your hands, of course.
I've heard more than enough now. I hereby present the final findings of this court. This trial is not the proper forum in which to pursue the alleged wrongdoings of Mr. Drebber. The defendant is Professor Albert Harebrain.
Very true. It had slipped my mind. Isn't he one of your closest friends?
As the court has heard, Dr. Scythe has admitted to the allegations brought by the defense, thereby absolving the defendant of any possible guilt.
You mean...
At the present time, it is the conclusion of this court that the defendant was not involved in any wrongdoing. Does the prosecution have any objection?
None, my lord. Oh, congratulations, Mr. Naruhodo. You've proven Professor Harebrain's innocence.
Yes, but there's still more. Without further ado, then, the adjudication. Unless the prosecution or defense have any other matters to discuss.
I feel like it's not solved yet. There's still more to it. Why did Dr. Scythe suddenly admit to it like that? Yeah, there's gotta be more to it. The way the trial is set to end now, the judge will certainly deliver a verdict of not guilty. But is that really what we want? No, we don't. Oh, no, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't want to do... Found not guilty. It's my Freudian actions slipping. In the antechamber during the recess earlier. I did give Mr. Sholmes my word, though, didn't I? I told him I'd pursue any doubts I had about the truth, but to the absolute last. There's only one right answer here. Yep. Ever wavering. Yeah, I didn't mean to. Objection! The defense objects to the trial ending at this time, my lord.
I beg your pardon?
We demand one final testimony.
What? You do not realize I'm about to adjudicate in favor of your client, I presume?
What are you playing at now, my Nipponese? Why would you want to obstruct the conclusion of this trial at this point? No defense lawyer in his right mind would do that. Mr. Naruhodo, what exactly are you thinking? The truth, the whole truth, and a way to bring it all out into the open. Right. Yes, in hindsight.
Ah yes, what would have warned before I go?
If in the course of the trial this afternoon you perceive even a shadow of doubt about the truth, don't let it out of your sight. Pursue it like a dog with a bone.
To the bitter end, you understand? Do not falter, whatever may come to pass.
I'm sure Mr. Sholmes knew. He must have deduced that this would happen. Yes, I'm here in court to advocate for my client, and to secure an acquittal. Obviously. But that's not all. I believe I have a duty to the court to pursue the whole truth of the case, till the very last detail is laid bare. And that is why the defense calls for further testimony from Dr. Scythe. Testimony from me? About what? About the nature of your collaboration with Mr. Enoch Drebber. Ha! In case it's escaped your attention, I've already admitted to everything I did. The whole truth has already been revealed, so stop wasting everyone's time. Ah! As his lordship made very plain, your client will get the acquittal you wanted. There's simply no point protracting this business further with
Another tedious cross-examination.
Objection!
Ooh, he throws the bottle. Pray forgive my careless handling of that hallowed bottle. I slipped. Also, my thing broke. My bad. That's what you call it?
What is your objection, Lord Van Zieks?
Prosecution also calls for supplementary testimony from the witness.
Don't be stupid.
If there is more to this case than has yet to come to light, then I will join my learned friend in pursuing the facts until the bitter end.
Yo, what?
Lord Van Zieks.
This is most irregular, to say the least. However, as the prosecution also calls for it, I will uphold the request. Dr. Scythe, you will testify for the coroner. Explain the full extent of your involvement in the murder apparently committed by Mr. Drebber.
Very well. Alright. The waxwork plot began at the scene when I saw the waxwork and the note tucked inside the jacket. The actual body of the victim, as indicated in the note's instruction, was beneath the experimentation stage. The body had to be arranged in certain ways to implicate the defendant, which was my job. I enlisted the help of the entire forensic investigation team to address this. The truth about the execution 10 years ago is a state secret of the highest level. I had to protect it. Something. But who stabbed him? Who stabbed him? You're a very shrewd boy. So kind of you to say. And what about this autopsy report then? All I did was record the location of the body as being in the Crystal Tower instead of under the stage. That's all? That's a terrible corruption. Only my team were aware of the deceit, and then only under my explicit instructions. Nobody else at Scotland Yard knew anything about it, I assure you.
You must be thankful for small mercies, I suppose. Well, I believe the testimony has clarified everything. There's no particular need for cross-examination, I would say.
No, I disagree. I can't shake the feeling that something's wrong. Just look at that expression on Dr. Scythe's face. It's the defense's right to cross-examine any witness following testimony. What is this about you Japanese that makes you all so doggedly persistent? So, you met us before. The Japanese. Alright. Oh, sorry. I forgot to move my mouse. It all began at the scene when I saw the waxwork and the note tucked inside the jacket. I don't think I need to press that. The actual body of the victim as indicated. I'm still wondering about the stabbing. Had to be arranged in certain ways to implicate the.
Hold it!
So how did you do that? I presume you mean this? Yes, the instructions in the engineer's notes along the lines of fabricate some evidence to make it clear that Harebrained alone could have killed him. You mean that was your job? Fetch Harebrained's ridiculous screwdriver from the stage. Take it with me, alone, to the abyss under the stage where the birdcage had fallen. I didn't feel it would be appropriate to involve anybody else in that particular part of the deception. What? What do you mean? There was a void under the stage where I found the birdcage lying in the dirt. I approached it, leaned down, and slowly opened it up. Then I took the screwdriver in both hands, plunged it into the man's chest. Damn. Then you noted that in your fake autopsy report, there's a fictitious cause of death. The actual cause of death was trauma resulting from the 30-foot drop.
My word.
What is it? It's just something about Dr. Sai's last statement. playing on my mind. Same. No need to shout. I can hear you perfectly well. The defense calls for you to add what you said to the formal testimony. Yeah, exactly. What she did to the victim. How you stabbed Mr. Asman in the chest, yeah. The prosecution concur! There, he's also pointing! No. You would have had to done it after the fact, because look at the bloodstains.
Objection!
Have you lost your tongue? Dr. Syed, in that last statement of yours, there's just one point that seems to defy explanation. Out with it, my learned friend. There's an obvious inconsistency between your description and this photograph, which shows the victim in the birdcage following the events that led to his death.
Objection!
The court has already examined that photograph in depth. There's nothing new we can learn from it. Yes, we have already considered it, that's true. But we now know the facts to be different. What do you mean? Believe we should let the defense explain. When this photograph, would we see the alleged inconsistency with the witness statement? I want to click on this, but maybe it's better if I hit this.
Take that!
Look closely at the bloodstain on the victim's chest. It clearly extends in a downward direction, towards the man's feet. And why is that significant, Counsel? Oh, I was talking about the bloodstain, but okay. If the victim was stabbed moments before the kinesis machine was set in motion, that's entirely expected. Ah, of course, no. That's not what happened. Exactly, my lord. Dr. Syed made it very clear in her testimony just now that the point at which she stole Professor Harebrain's screwdriver and stabbed the victim was after the grand deception was set in motion, when the birdcage has fallen below the stage out of sight. From the shape of it, it's clear that the birdcage would have fallen on its side after the 30-foot drop. And if the victim had really been stabbed while the birdcage was in that position, the blood from the wound would have spread out equally in all directions. For it to have formed the longitudinal appearance we see in the picture is inconceivable. Duh! Given that the victim's blood seeped vertically downwards from the wound, it must be the case that when you stabbed Mr. Asman, he was standing up. In short, Dr. Syed, your latest testimony was a total fabrication. Duh! I knew it. I was right. Now I've identified that contradiction. There's only one way to explain the facts. We've all been under a great misapprehension here. What? What sort of misapprehension? Dr. Syed, you claim you were coerced into helping Mr. Drebber as a result of the note he left in the waxwork. You claim that you made changes to the scene of the crime to implicate the defendant. And you claim that you authored a fake autopsy report to cover your tracks. But one of those claims is an out-and-out lie. Because the question of what the bloodstain really tells us has only one possible answer.
If that is the case, what is it, man?
Council, you've clearly struck upon a revelation. Now tell the court what it is. Which part of Dr. Sai's story is shown to be a lie by the contradiction is the testimony? I mean, there's only this one, right? The stabbing of the victim? The answer is very simple if you consider the sequence of events. If, when the victim was stabbed, the blood from the wound seeped downwards, as it did, we can be sure that the victim must have been either sitting or standing upright at the time. But as you rightly pointed out, the birdcage would have fallen on its side when it fell beneath the stage. Yes, it would, which tells us that the victim must have been in that position of his own accord.
Objection!
Impossible. The man was dead, remember? No, that is the misapprehension. When the birdcage fell from the stage into the void below, it must have hit the ground with considerable force. Yeah, see, I knew it. He was alive at the time. But Mr. Asman didn't die in the fall. He probably lost consciousness for a while, but when he came around, he got to his feet to climb out of the cage. Just as Dr. Scythe appeared. If the victim was in fact alive at that point in time, it changes everything. Mr. Odie Asman's killer wasn't the defendant, Professor Albert Harebrain, nor was it the mastermind behind the strange trickery, Mr. Enoch Drebber. It was you, Dr. Courtney Scythe. This is far from what I expected. Have you been taking me for a fool? It was you, was it? You killed him? You hoped that by admitting to being an accomplice in Mr. Drebber's scheme, the trial would end, before you were accused of a far worse crime. Cold-blooded murder. Oh, do shut up! You're so desperate now, you're making all this up! As if I would do something like that.
Objection!
I assure you, the defense is not desperate, Doctor. Mr. Naruhodo has established the facts using evidence and logic alone. Ha! Logic! Don't make me laugh. Sadly, your logic has a gaping hole in it. What? What do you mean? I'd have thought it was obvious. A motive, boy. You're lacking a motive. What possible reason would I have to kill Mr. Asman? Asman was involved in many number of criminal activities, from coercion to theft to murder. But there's no known connection to Dr. Scythe there. I'm rather relieved to say it does seem somewhat far-fetched. True, there's no obvious motive, but there's something in the back of my mind. I feel sure I've seen something somewhere at the... Yes, I might have tampered with the crime scene and concocted a fake report. But murdering someone for no reason is a very different story.
Objection!
No. When you question what possible reason you could have for wanting to kill Mr. Asman, something did come to mind. What?
What was it, Council? Enlighten the court at once.
Yes, we saw it yesterday, didn't we? Something that seemed strange, but we had no reason to suspect it at the time. There's a particular object that explains why Dr. Scythe would have wanted to kill Mr. Asman. It's a scalpel, or rather, scalpels.
Did you say scalpels?
Ah! It would appear that word has struck a chord, Doctor. You! Come on, out with it! It was yesterday when we visited your laboratory. Look at this big book here. Ah, it appears to be an accounting ledger. It's a record of the forensic investigation team's spending, I think. Oh? What is it? It's clear that the team purchases various equipment and supplies on a monthly basis, but... well, one entry seems rather strange. Really? In what way? They're buying 500 scalpels every month. 500 scalpels? A month? At first, I wondered what on earth you could be using that many scalpels for. But actually, I realize now it's not the scalpels themselves that are significant. It's the money for them, disappearing every month from the department's accounts. Asmon's criminal organization relied heavily on extortion for its funding. Tracing the money from the forensic investigations team account to find out where it was going would be extremely straightforward. 10 years ago, when Mr. Asmon was still a journalist and wrote this article about Mr. Drebber, he may well have stumbled upon information as he was researching the story. Information relating to Dr. Sai's darkest secret that he could use to rack money from her for the next decade. Her darkest secret? Good lord, you mean? I don't know what happened on the night of that execution 10 years ago, but clearly the opportunity to rid yourself of that menace was too tempting to pass up. So, in the end, you weren't coerced at all, were you? You did it entirely of your own free will. You stabbed Mr. Asmon in the heart with all your might to silence the blackmailer who knew your darkest secret forever. You'll never understand. None of you. What we've had to keep covered up all these long years. Very silent. Very, very, very silent. So, what do we know now? As very little of the machine remains after it was ripped apart by the bomb, the truth of this case can never be properly established unless you speak out. And if you decide not to, it's very possible that Courtney Scythe will escape punishment for her crimes. Please, sir, own up to what you've done and tell the court the truth about what happened. 10 years ago, you told the truth, and you were robbed of a bright and successful future as a result. I can certainly understand your bitterness and your consternation now. However, this is surely the chance you've been waiting for, to sever the hold that fate's had over you all these years. Super high voltage instantaneous kinesis. I mean, really. It's the addled brain mock scientists that are the worst, you know. They don't recognize the fact that they don't have talent. They can't even get that right. And so they end up chasing impossible dreams, having unbridled faith in their abilities. They go on and on about their wonderful hypotheses, their stupid eyes shining like a little child's. They make me sick! I can't abide their foolishness. Careful, Mr. Drebber. I was particularly pleased with the kinesis machine. It made for quite a show, didn't it? So you admit it. You admit that it was nothing more than a sham made for the purpose of killing the victim. Yes, I admit it. I did it all in the name of revenge. Revenge for the future that Mr. Asmon's article had deprived you of 10 years earlier. But the revenge you sought didn't stop at Asmon, did it? Which is where that very particular waxwork comes in. Yes, I see. The condemned convict that you saw rising from the Graven Lowgate Cemetery 10 years ago. If your account of those events was all true, then obviously Scotland Yard couldn't afford to acknowledge what had happened.
even if it meant discrediting a bright young man and crushing any future career he might have had. So your plan required that you abduct that particular waxwork model in order to exact your revenge on Scotland Yard as well, or on Dr. Scythe to be precise. It was a year ago. By some extraordinary twist of fate, Asmund turned up at my workshop. He didn't remember who I was, of course. He just wanted to employ my services as an engineer. And he happened to have a paper with him. An article on the front page caught my eye about the coroner who handled that bogus autopsy being appointed head of a new forensic team. When I learned that news, my cognitive processes started to devise the plan. What a horrid tale. He robbed me of my future, so I wanted to use the man's own wiles against him, for revenge, and have that rotten Scotland Yard eating out of my hand at the same time. I wanted them all to suffer the same humiliation I had to suffer. Poor dude. Your actions against those who ruined your future were justified as revenge, at least to yourself. Certainly, no one has a right to destroy another's prospects, especially for purely selfish gain. And yet, in carrying out your plan, you did exactly that to someone else, didn't you? Did I? Professor Harebrain's only crime was passion for his hypothesis, but you had no compunction about sacrificing his future to effect your revenge. You knew that he would be forever branded a failure and a fraud. Perhaps life treated you unfairly 10 years ago, and others' misconduct left your life in tatters. But remember this, your own actions resulted in exactly the same thing for another perfectly innocent young man. Aw, poor dude. Poor dude. Poor dude. Lord Van Zieks, what of Dr. Scythe? An immediate warrant for her arrest has been granted. She's been remanded in custody. I presume she will face trial in the coming days along with Mr. Drebber. Most regrettable situation indeed. She's made great contributions to her profession over the years. It really is a hard truth to swallow. However, that is a topic for some future occasion. For now, Professor Harebrain. Oh, yes? It seems there was a great deal more to your experiment than you realized. However, I think we can assume now that all the sordid details have been brought to light. This has been a very long and profound trial, but I'm pleased to say you are absolved of all guilt. This whole experience has taught me a very great but painful lesson. Me, this dedicated scientist, this devotee of natural philosophy. I've been selfish and self-centered, and above all, a fool. Professor, I've spent my life thinking of nothing but my research, misguidedly believing that I could do whatever I set my mind to despite my lack of talent. And the worst of it is, in the process, I've caused others pain and misery. Others who are far greater people than I. No, Professor, that's not true. What? Don't tar yourself with the same brush as Drebber. What happened was his doing and his alone. This outcome is his fate, not yours. You're not to blame in any way. Lord Van Zieks, and the derision with which he referred to you, calling you a fool, talentless even. Man has no idea. Believe in yourself and work your fingers to the bone to realize your dreams. That's laudable, not laughable. No one has the right to deride another for such choices. Oh. Thank you.
Barak.
So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Yes, my lord. It is the court's expectation that you find the defendant not guilty of the charge with which he stands accused. I presume there are no objections. None from me, my lord.
Sorry, let me get a drink of water. What's that? He's done, idiot. Is it all over?
I don't know what's become of the yard these days. I don't recognize the place. At least I pronounce the defendant.
Yippee! Yippee! I love the fireworks. Thank goodness. They set off fireworks inside the courtroom. Very cool. Very, very cool.
Court is adjourned.
Excuse me. Alright, that was some trial. Professor! What a splendid outcome. I hope he's not... I mean, it's a game, but, like, I hope it doesn't, like, make him stop, you know? Also, is that a bald patch starting to grow, like, a bald part starting to grow on the top of his head? Yeah. I think he'll be fine. That's kind of you, man, but you know... It's fine. We don't need the money. We're just here to help. I wonder if we can see it. Oh. Yeah, what are we gonna do? Still, it's been too long since I was last in London, so perhaps I'll enjoy some sightseeing. Yeah, you know what? Hang out with Barak. I think you both need it. I can't allow that. Oh, hello. Lord Van Zieks, what are you doing in here? Yeah, what are you doing? It was terrifying. You were like a great demon behind your bench there. Darling, down, you're on your prey. I think that's like more of a compliment from him. Friends I have, I couldn't leave it to anybody else to handle the prosecution. Or the defense. Or the defense? Did I just hear that right? I always knew that you had my best interests at heart. Don't worry. How about you show me around while I'm here in London? It's been a long time since we left university. We have a lot to catch up on. Listen, Albert. In a few days, your acquittal will be made official. When that happens, you must head straight to Dover. I'll accompany you. From there, you'll cross the channel and make your way back to Germany. I've already purchased a ticket. But no! Hold on a minute, Barak! What about the Great Exhibition? This is the chance of a lifetime for me. I want to look around. No sightseeing, Albert. Give up on the idea. Sometimes, it's hard to see any warmth in those eyes, Barak. Lord Van Zieks. What's all this about? A necessary precaution. Yes, I think I understand. You think? Well, Iris told me that when you met Lord Van Zieks at his office some days ago, he asked how Mr. Natsume was doing. Yes, that's right. I remember being surprised at the time, and thinking it was nice of him to ask. The point is, Mr. Natsume is still alive and well, even though it's been more than 6 months now since he took trial with the Reaper as the prosecutor. Ah, you mean the Reaper's influence doesn't stretch overseas? Those in the Reaper's sights meet their ends days or sometimes months after their acquittal. That's been the pattern up to now. But of course, we know that both Mr. Natsume and Gina are completely innocent. True, and perhaps that governs the Reaper's actions. The truly innocent are spared. But I don't want to take any chances with a close personal friend. he does have a heart. Like the Mustache Nipponese, this man should leave the country without delay. That's why I'm packing him off to Germany at once. Right. Does your friend-shaped package get any say in? Goodness, was this your intention all along then, Lord Van Zieks? In court, where people think of him as the Reaper, this man seems absolutely merciless. And yet, sometimes I feel as though I don't understand him at all. It's time to go, Albert. Back to the prison for the time being. Ah, yes, alright. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo. Thank you so much for everything. Not at all, Professor. It was a great pleasure, great meeting you. Best wishes, Professor Harebrained. Oh, once the dust is settled, you must come and visit me in Germany. Anyway, goodbye for now. Now, my Nipponese friend. Oh, yes? I thought you'd gone too. We have matters to discuss. Can you spare me some time? You want to talk with me? I'll be waiting in the courtroom. 10 minutes. Oh, that was strange. For some reason, I didn't get that sense of impending doom as he walked away this time. The enigma, Baroque Van Zieks. What does he want to discuss, I wonder? The answer awaits in the courtroom, I suppose. Here goes then. Here goes then. Alright, show us! I think we're gonna see who for ourselves, who the masked, not the masked, the real guy is. So, are you satisfied? You saved a guileless scientist from great injustice. Yes, I think so. I'm relieved, at least, that the man's innocence could be proven. Anyway, I imagine you've been wondering where my animosity towards you Nipponese comes from. Hi, Danby. Well, at first I thought you just didn't like me. I imagined you saw me as a pretentious child from an unimportant land who had no business being here. But now, I think differently. You clearly know our ways. So I would guess that some specific incident led to your thorough dislike of my race. Will you tell me what happened, please? The Professor. I thought I'd never hear that name in this courtroom again, to be honest. He took your brother's life. Clint. My brother was Clint Van Zieks. 16 years ago, when I was still just in my teens, he was already the director of prosecutions and a key member of the judiciary. I looked up to him. He was everything I aspired to be. He was involved in the establishment of justice systems in foreign countries as well. There were exchange programs between Britain and other nations then too, to share knowledge and ideas. As part of one of those programs, 3 judicial students came to Britain from your homeland, the Empire of Japan. If it was 16 years ago, then one of them could have been my father. Of course, I remember Dr. Mikotoba well. I had no idea. I was a minor at the time, training at the prosecutor's office. One day, Clint introduced me to 3 visiting Nipponese. So, you've actually met my father. He and his colleagues were polite and amicable. They were adept at their work and exacting in their standards. It was my first encounter with the Nipponese spirit, and it made very great impression upon me. 6 years later, that's when it happened. The investigation was going nowhere. There were no suspects even, just an ever-growing list of victims. And in the end, my brother became one of them. The last, in fact, before the case was finally resolved. So sorry, Lord Van Zieks. Truly. Clint was always ready to put his life on the line for just as anyone. So he wouldn't have wanted it any other way. He lost his life to the killer, but it was his victory in the end. For me personally, though, it was a great loss. I found myself in a very dark place indeed. When I finally found out the killer's identity, the reason why no one had been able to catch the man sooner ceased to be such a mystery.
he'd been hiding in plain sight all the time. Plain sight? Are you aware of political events 10 years ago? It was a period of extremely sensitive diplomacy between the British and Japanese empires. A new treaty was being forged, I think. Correct. The Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation was being concluded. The leaders of both countries were deep in extensive political discussions, which is why this particular killer's appearance in court was conducted as a closed trial. If the British public had known the identity of the killer, not only would the treaty have been in jeopardy, our two nations could very well have ended up at war. What? A war between Britain and Japan? But that would mean... Oh my! You mean to say the professor was... Yeah, he was Japanese.
When the trial reached its conclusion earlier, I thought to myself, yes, it's time. Time for you to come face to face with this hideous monster. I borrowed the key for the mask from the proprietress of the Waxwork Museum. So see for yourselves now. Confirm it with your own eyes. The truth that's been hidden this past decade.
That's the professor?
Yes, that's him.
Until now, the thought never even crossed my mind. That the mass murderer, whose crimes shook Britain as never before, was Japanese.
Wait a minute. That face. I feel as though I've seen it somewhere. It's strangely familiar.
Father.
What? Father? Kazuma! My best friend, Kazuma Asogi. After a whole year, finally his memories returned. As he stood there before me, Ryunosuke. Hello again. My friend.
Kazuma-sama!
Judicial Assistant Mikotoba.
Are you gonna break it?
A very long road. Thank you. Thank you for guiding my friend here when I could not.
It was an honor.
I knew you wouldn't die that easily. Kazuma. I owe you thanks, too. For taking good care of that in my absence. Oh. Karuma. The great blade of the Asogi clan. Passed down through the generations. When we left Japan, this sword was at my friend's side. A Japanese man's katana is his soul, and he couldn't be parted from it. But then, when the incident happened, it was Susato-san's wish that I inherit the sword, and I've kept it with me ever since, along with my memories of the friendship we shared.
I'm about to cry.
With this by my side, I always felt that you were watching over me somehow.
I've made it. At last.
Father. Are you saying... Surely not. You mean, you knew all this time? I'm looking at it, but I still can't believe it. This mass murderer is Kazuma's father.
Kazuma-sama.
Ryunosuke, we have much to talk about. But now is not the time. I'll be seeing you.
That's all Kazuma said. Before he turned and left us there, in the courtroom.
Well. So he's a living afterimage of the man who took my brother's life, is he? Yes, Kazuma Asugi, my best friend. 3 months ago, when Lord Strongheart introduced us. I had an inkling there was something there, some connection. But why did Lord Strongheart do that? Why did he make Kazuma Lord Van Zeke's apprentice? And when he was suffering amnesia too? The man was apprehended, even executed, but his legacy just won't die. That's the sad truth. Anyway, that's all I had to say. Thank you for meeting with me as I asked. Years ago, my grandmother took me to the railway station. We were there to meet my father from the train. For me, it was the first time I'd ever seen him. Poor Susato-san. All this is tied up with painful memories for her too. She's never talked about this with me before, though. It took some time to adjust to having father around, but just when I was starting to get used to it, he called me into his study one day. He told me that a great friend of his had passed away in London, and that the friend had left behind a son, a boy 7 years my senior. Father told me the boy had made a promise to his late father, so he was studying to become a defense lawyer. I wanted to help, so I studied to become a qualified judicial assistant. As I'm sure you've worked out, that young man's name is Kazuma Asugi. So you see, that's how he and I met.
For a brief moment, my great friend had returned, only to disappear again all too soon. But in that fleeting encounter, something stirred. Something that had been dormant for a long time. As if great wheels had been set in motion. I could almost hear them creaking into life. In some ways, it was the end of a chapter. But in many, it was the start of a new one.
Alright, so we finally know the professor's real identity. Ah. Twisted Karma's last bow, and then final chapter, the resolve of Ryosuke Naruhodo. Alright, we're gonna return to the title screen. That was something. Sorry, I'm clicking outside so I can find someone to. I'm gonna hit the ending screen as well at the same time. So find out. Date is the 21st. Last month, rated Belrose. Ralphie is streaming right now, so go rate Ralphie. I think Belrose is streaming, but we rated Ralphie last week. Last month, but we'll rate Dove again. If you're still here, thank you so much. If you come from Sophia's raid, I greatly appreciate everyone being here. Thank you so much for coming with Sophia to raid us. I really appreciate it. And to everyone, I hope everyone has a great day, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. And as always, please remember to take care of yourselves. And I'll see you all in the next stream. If you are just following, or you just want to raid, just copy this raid message. If you are sub, use this raid message instead. And I will see you all tomorrow. Alright.